A little time, but not much time to change your life around for ya. It's not easy removing bad practices and fleshly habits. Every opportunity you have to do wrong, you do it gladly, even if it makes you feel good or bad. Our flesh is so weak but strong at the same time. We're running out of excuses or claiming you didn't know. Don't none of us have a crystal ball to tell us when it's time you go. No doctor, no nurse, no preacher, no fortune teller can give you the answers to life and death. So you better get right.
Shalom Mishpachah, Shalom Mishpachah. My name is Og Jimmy, also known as Brother Jimmy, and we are ambassadors of Yah. I want to thank all of you for coming in today onto this live session, this live cast. And also for those of you who are first timers here and that you are joining us, you're not here by any coincidence or accident. We're going to be talking about, are you saved? Are you saved? Before we do, let's go ahead and get into a palal. Let's pray. Heavenly Abba Yahuah, we come before you in the mighty name of your Bane, Yahushua HaMashiach. Abba, first and foremost, we give you all praise, honor, and esteem, for there is no one like you, O Yah. There is no one in existence that has anything like you. You alone are Al Shaddai. You alone are the Aleph and the Tah. You alone are the first and the last. You alone are the beginning and the end. Abba, there is none like you. And so we put all of our trust in you, O Yah. Abba, we ask that wherever we may be wrong, we ask that you would correct us. We ask that your Ruach HaKadosh would lead us and guide us as you have promised us, O Abba. Help us not to veer to the left or to the right. May we stay in your instructions. May we stay continuing to show that we love you and that we care, O Abba, for you first loved us. Abba, help us even where we're faithless as you continue to stay and remain faithful. Abba, may we continue to allow our words to be seasoned with salt. I ask that you would use me now, O Abba. Help me to speak your words and not my own. Help me to be in your mindset and not my own. Help me to be tolerant of others, O Abba, as you have been tolerant with us. Help us to be long-suffering with one another as you have been long-suffering with us. Help us to be patient with one another, O Abba, as you have been patient with us. And those that you are bringing in here, O Abba, we ask that you would soften their hearts to hear your message. May they see you and not us. May they allow themselves to be out of the way and that you may be able to enter into their heart. All this we bring before you in the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach, the name that is above all names, the only name that we can call upon that we may have salvation. It's in his most precious name we palal. Hallelujah, Yahuah, Hallelujah, Yahuah, and Hallelujah, Yahuah. Amat. Rumamu Yahuah. Amat, Amat. Hold on one second, you guys. I'm going to have to separate my dogs because they just got done eating. I see they want to keep playing. So let me go ahead and separate them now. Hazel, in the cage. Inside. Come here. Come on. Inside. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes. You guys stay and relax. I'll let you out in a little bit. All right, I apologize for that. Okay, so let me ask you all a question. And I want you to be sincere. If you believe that we are to keep the feast days, give me a 1. If you believe that we are not to keep the feast days, give me a 2. If you believe we're to keep the feast days, give me a 1. If you don't think so, give me a 2. Any 2s out there? Any 2s? Any 2s? No 2s? Okay. Let me ask you all another question. Do you believe that we're to keep the Sabbath? If you believe we are to keep the Sabbath, give me a 7. If you don't believe we're to keep the Sabbath, give me a 6. If you believe that we're to keep the feast days, give me a 7. If you don't think so, give me a 6. All right. Now, let me ask you all another question. If you are trying to keep the Sabbath, but you have to work, and you want to keep the Sabbath, but you can't keep the Sabbath as you would like to keep the Sabbath, give me a 5. If you right now have to work, but you can't keep the Sabbath, you want to keep the Sabbath, but you can't keep the Sabbath as you would like to, give me a 5. I see a lot of you are in that boat. Okay. So now, let me ask you this. For you to keep the Sabbath, and you're coming into this truth, and you want to keep the Sabbath, are you going to quit your job to find another job that will allow you to keep the Sabbath the way you're keeping it? Or are you not able to do it because you have children, you have responsibilities, not as an excuse, but you have children, you have responsibilities, you got to take care of others, and you as a parent, you can't do it. Give me a 5. No, give me an 8, so I know that you're understanding. Give me an 8. Same thing, school, all of that. It's work. Yep. Give me an 8. I want someone to do me a favor, because I want this to be where we're doing this together. Please find me the passage in Scripture where it says that if you can free yourself, free yourself. Find that for me. I believe it's in the Brit HaKadosh. If you're able to free yourself, free yourself. Please show me that. Bring it up for me. There's a reason why I'm doing this, but I need this person to see for themselves. This isn't the first time I've had this question asked to me. I've been doing this for quite some time now. Okay, there's not too many questions that people throw at me or think that I'm speaking something contrary to Yahuah. Proverbs 60, there's no 61. Is that 6:15? I think it's 1 Corinthians 7:21. Yes, let's go there. 1 Corinthians 7:21. Yes, this is the one. TURAH for that. All of you who have put in 1 Corinthians 7:21. All right. I thought I had something to point with. Now, Mishpachah, I love each and every last one of you. Abba Yahuah knows this. Okay? Abba Yahuah knows I love each and every last one of you. And Abba Yahuwah knows the constraints that we are all under. Abba Yahuwah knows better than we know ourselves. Okay? So let's read this. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 21. Were you called while a slave? It matters not to you. But if you are able to become free to, rather use it. For he who is called in the master while a slave is the master's freed man. Likewise, he who is called while free is a slave of the Messiah. Now, I want you all to tell me what this means. What is the Apostle Shaul saying here? I want to read some of your responses. What do you think the Apostle Shaul is saying here to those who are enslaved? What is he saying here? Let's see what kind of responses we get. We should only be enslaved to Yahuwah. Okay, yeah. There are slaves. They are slaves to their sins. Answer to the master. Get rid of. So let me ask you this. Was Shaul talking about someone who was literally enslaved to someone? Like they are a servant of someone? The reason why I'm asking this question is this. Those of you who have a job, those of you who can't have a Shabbat day off because your employer tells you you can't get that day off, would you consider yourself a slave to your company? Would you consider yourself a slave to the company? If you go to your employer and your employer says, I cannot give you MON day off, would you consider yourself a slave to that company? Okay. If you can lawfully free yourself from a condition of bondage or situation that hinders obedience to Yahuwah, freedom is preferable to bondage. Yes, yes. People need food to eat, have bills to pay. This is why the Messiah got rid of that law. Okay, the Messiah didn't get rid of the Shabbat, unlike what you're saying, 6933 tree, but I appreciate your opinion. Okay, so many of you want to free yourself, and if you could, you would. Many of you have responsibilities. So let me ask you this question. Would it be right for me, before Abba Yahuwah, to convict you and say, all of you who gave me a yes, that you feel like you're a slave, that told me you wish that you can keep the Shabbat, but you can't. And I tell you right now, according to the law, per this person, that all of you right now, you're in sin. All of you right now who cannot get the Shabbat off, which is tomorrow, you are living in sin and you are going through the furnace right now. You must get yourself right with Abba Yahuwah right now and get yourselves out of that job. It don't matter if you get fired. It doesn't matter if you're still looking for another job to take care of your family. It doesn't matter. You need to be in obedience right now at this moment. You need to go through the fire to know what it feels like to choose Yahuwah over your job. How many of you would do that right now? Give me a 1. And if that's the case, why haven't you done it? So I ask you, all of you who gave me a 1, you wanna live before Abba Yahuwah spotless, blameless, nothing on you. You're walking in righteousness, right? You know the fourth commandment. The fourth commandment says you are to keep or remember the Shabbat. Let me say it properly. Remember the Shabbat and to keep it set apart. Now, some of you I know have used your union rep. You're trying to get that day off because of your religious preference, and your employer is giving you all kinds of hurdles to jump over, but you want to do it. You want to be in line with Abba Yahuwah. What would you all think right now? Well, for those of us who are self-employed, you're not enslaved. Okay, like myself, I'm not enslaved in that sense. I'm self-employed. But the majority of you are employed by someone else. You see, when the law was given to a camp of believers. The law was given to a community of people who were supposed to be married to Abba Yahuwah. Abba Yahuwah said, these are my instructions. This is our marriage vows. Okay. He brought them out of Egypt, brought them into the wilderness. So they are no longer employed. They are no longer sanctioned by Egypt, by Pharaoh. Before then, they were under the jurisdiction of Egypt. They were under the jurisdiction of Pharaoh. They had no way of getting any remedy because just like many of you today, while you're here in Egypt, you have bills to pay, you have children to raise, you may have some animals, you may have things that you have to take care of that it might be medical. I don't know. I'm just throwing them all out there. Some of you have asked me, and this has been going on for almost 3 years now since I've been doing this online. What do I do if I can't have that day off? And I tell you, what is under your control, you do that before Abba Yahuwah. He knows that you want that day off and you cannot get that day off because your slave owner, the slave driver, has you in that position. They tell you if you want to be employed, you want to continue to bring food on the table, you want to take care of your family, you want to take care of yourself, you need to be here at this time, at this place, from certain time to certain time. You've been at that job for quite some time, even before you came into this truth, many of you. So here you are coming into this truth, and now you realize, as many of us are finding out, oh, the Shabbat isn't on a Saturday. So convenient for those of us who believe that the Shabbat was on a Saturday. Now we realize it's not on a Saturday. This puts us in a quite of a pickle, in a dilemma. And we have to go before Abba Yahuwah, understanding our situation. Some of you have mortgages like myself. Some of you have put yourself into a contract with a vehicle or whatever, what have you, maybe paying back some of your student debt loans and everything else. You got all these responsibilities. Before you came into this truth, you're realizing that the Sabbath is not so conveniently on a weekend, according to the Gregorian calendar. So now you have to figure out, what in the world do I do? What do I do? Now, this is what it says in the word. Let me take you to Hebrews chapter 4. Notice what he says here. 4:12, for the word of Yahuwah Elohim is living and working and sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting through even the dividing of the being that would be your soul and spirit, and of joints and marrow, and able to judge the thoughts and the intentions of the heart. What does it mean to have being able to judge the intent of one's heart? It's what you intend to do. You want to keep the Shabbat, but you're not able to, because this isn't a perfect world. We're not all in the camp of Israel. Excuse me. We haven't been brought out before Abba Yahuah to where he says, this is the way you worship me. This is how I command it to be done. Now, when you live, hear me out, everyone. When you live in the camp of Yasharal, and anyone who has done something, read the TURAH, read Genesis to Deuteronomy. The laws that you will find there has nothing to do with a person living in a foreign land. Let me say that once again. The things that you find in Genesis to Deuteronomy, when it comes to the instructions of Yahuah, has nothing to do with you living in a foreign land. You are living in the dwelling place with Yahuah. If you don't keep his commandments, you are outside of the camp of Yasharal. So for this example, we are going to use the Sabbath. We are in our captivity. All of you know this. What does it mean that we are in our captivity? We are not in the promised land. We are not in the kingdom of Yahuah. We are outside of the kingdom of Yahuah because the kingdom of Yahuah hasn't returned yet. It's not here yet. But once it's here and no one that keeps it is supposed to keep it, you are in trouble. I should say anyone who doesn't keep it and needs to keep it and they don't keep it will be in trouble. On this side of the promised land, we are all working out our own salvation with fear and trembling. Each and every last one of us. I can't tell you how many times that I get emails, text messages, sometimes phone calls, and I've been really limiting phone calls because I just can't do it. I just can't have everybody calling me that has my phone number. In fact, I'm literally at the point of getting ready to change my number because I need to have my own shalom. I need my own peace. I need my own space, right? When I did this, it was only to bring the truth out. It wasn't to be a part of everyone's individual lives and dictating their lives. And am I supposed to do this, Aki? And can I do this, Aki? Is this okay, Aki? No, these are things that you yourself need to go and look into the scriptures for yourself and have that personal relationship with your creator, my creator, our creator. You take it before him. He will answer all your questions. He's the one who says that I will lead you and guide you into all truth. He's the one who says that we shall all be taught and learn from him. What I have is a lot of people, instead of doing their own studies, they want to look at what I'm doing and saying, Jimmy, you're doing this wrong. Jimmy, you're doing that wrong. Jimmy, you're doing this, and this. They're pointing the finger at me. Now, I don't want to have to pull anybody's card and say, did Yahuah give you this? Did Yahuah put you in this position? Did Yahuah give you the information that I've been sharing with people and to some of you so that you can be brought into this truth? And yet now you're going to question what I'm doing. If you want to do anything for me and you think I'm wrong, take it before Abba Yahuah and say, Abba, if Jimmy is wrong, reveal it to him so that I can reveal it to others. But what I don't need is Monday quarterbacks, as they would say, after the game is over, and then tell me, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you need to go and look at this, listen to this person, do this person, and this person said this, and this person said that, and I can go into all of that, and I can cut it down, slice it, and divide it, and say this person was wrong, and this is the reason why. What you need to do is, and I'm speaking to all of you, is you need to get up off of these phones, and you need to go out, and you need to do some ministerial work in your area. Stop trying to redig and refertilize a soil that Yahuah has already fertilized. You need to go and fertilize some other soil so you can plant that seed over there. Stop looking at your brother while you still got a plank in your own eye. Abba Yahuwah is going to make me stand one way or the other. If something that I'm doing is wrong, Abba Yahuwah is going to reveal it to me. Believe that. He's done it too many times. Where I was wrong, he has revealed it to me. And I have revealed it to you all who have been following. What I don't need is people who want to quarterback from the sidelines and say, don't tell me, don't say I said anything. What do you mean don't say you didn't say anything? If I'm putting my face out there, then you put your face out there. If you want to bring it to me, then you bring it out. This is why I have open mic nights. You have every right to come up and say what you need to say to the Mishpachah. If you think that I'm saying something that is wrong, back it up with scripture. Back it up with scripture. Okay? Like I do every single weekend. I back it up with scripture. You might say, oh, that's not what I mean. That's not, well, that's the way it's being taken. That's the way it's being taken. Once I'm done with this Revelation series coming up, probably this weekend, tomorrow, your Ak needs a break. Your Ak is going to go silent for a little while. Your Ak is going to do his thing for a little while that got me into this ministry in the beginning in the first place. Because what I'm getting is too many crybabies and too many people who want to be the man or the woman. If you feel that way, please start your own ministry. Get on here and do it. Nobody is stopping you. No one is hindering you. I am not your mouthpiece. I am your brother. I've said this so many times. I am not your preacher, your teacher, your minister. I'm none of that. I'm just your brother. And I'm just showing you what Yahuwah has shown me. And some of it might be my own opinion. But once it's something that I know, I'm going to share it with you. I'm not in this to get a whole bunch of followers. I don't need that. I've done this since 2009 coming into this truth. Here it is, 2026 on the pagan calendar. I think Abba Yahuwah has done a fantastic job with me over these years, and he's still working out the salvation that is in me. Things that I still need to root out. I am not perfect by any means. We got so many people that are lost out there, and you want to point the finger at me. And I'm talking not to just an individual. I'm talking to many of you who are sending me stuff. Oh, you haven't looked into this that I sent you, and you haven't looked into that. I don't have that amount of time. I got a job that I just came back from a job just now. So I can hurry up, speeding all the way home. So I can get on here to do what I know that my heart feels that I need to be doing every weekend. Planting seeds in Christians, in Muslims, in atheists, and even some of you that are not serene that are still learning. What blows me away is when a person is not in the same situation or in the same boat as a person who's in that situation, it's easy for us to say what the other person's not doing. But when it's you in that situation and you can't get that time off and you can't have that ability, now it's different because you're not raising kids anymore. You're not working anymore. You're a single person now. It's all about you and yourself. But when you have other people who are needing you, those that are wanting to follow you, and yet you have these restrictions on you because this is the world we live in. We are in our captivity. It's Abba Yahuwah who began this work in you, and he's going to complete it unto that perfect day. That is his promise. He will complete you, not any man. He's going to do it, not even yourself, because if you have been called by him, you best believe he is going to make sure that he completes that work that he began in you. You may not like the way he's going to do it. You may not wonder how long or why did you have to do it this way? He knows what's best for you. You don't. If I was to be like somebody else, if I was supposed to be like Ronald Truth Unedited, then he would have made me Ronald Truth Unedited. If he wanted me to be someone else who's over there doing some other thing with some other religion, and then that's what the truth was, then that's what he would have made me do if that was the true religion. Miss Baka, we ain't got too much time left. You may not like the way I present things, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. You might not like the tone of my voice. You may not like the way I'm presenting the information. Well, I'm not the only person out there giving out this truth. You can always change the channel, and you can find someone else who's going to scratch your itching ears and brings the message the way you like it to be heard. But I'm not going to sit and take all the criticism, and you're doing this wrong and you're doing that wrong. You know what? Abba Yahuwah is going to reveal when I do something wrong. And if he doesn't show it to me right away, he'll show it to me. He's been doing it, and he will continue to do it. You know why? Because I come to him on bended knees every single day. Why? Because I am a wicked person. I am a sinner. I am one who needs a savior. I don't know about you all. I'm not perfect. I have thoughts running through my mind. I wish I could divorce myself from my thoughts. I wish those thoughts didn't even exist in my brain. When some of you come at me at a certain way, I have certain thoughts that come up because of the way somebody's coming at me, and I don't like those thoughts. So again, I say to you, if you believe that this brother, me, myself, is doing something wrong, and you see it in scripture as doing something wrong, please take it to Abba Yahuwah on my behalf so that he will correct your brother. There is so many things. And I say this again, and I'll say it before I get into my message, because this wasn't my message, but I just feel like I'm being urged by the Ruach to share this with all of you. It's so easy when you see someone doing something and you're like, oh man, he should have seen that coming. Oh man, he should have did this. Oh man, he should have did that. It's so easy to say that when you're on the sidelines. Oh man, he should have hit him with this. He should have hit him with that. He didn't see that punch coming. He didn't see that. Oh man, here comes the uppercut. He didn't see the uppercut coming. It's so easy to say that when you're out there and you're not the one in the boxing ring. Oh, move to the left, move to the right. Oh man, you let him hit you. Oh man, you let that happen to you. It's so easy to do that. What you need to do is be praying for that person that's fighting out there. What you need to do is ask Abba Yahuwah to give that person more skill and agility and knowledge and instruction. And then you send stuff, and the only way a person can take it is you're saying all of that stuff that you just sent me in that post, you're saying that's me. I started a movement. I'm teaching what I only know. I'm this echo chamber that I'm putting out all this information to people. And then let me know you're going to give an account on that day for the things that you have said. Look, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this very clear. I have not at one time told anyone to break the Shabbat. All of you who know me know that I'm all about the commandments. If you love me, as the Mashiach says, keep my commandments. That's why I'm keeping his Shabbat. But some of you are not in that position, and I know this, and if I know this as a mere mortal, I know Abba Yahuwah, who is infinite, understands greater than all of us. But sometimes we make the Creator so rigid. Oh, you're not keeping my Sabbath? Away with you. You're not keeping my Sabbath? Away with you. You're not keeping my Sabbath? Away with you. If you're able to set yourself free from the constraints that you have, and understand Abba Yahuwah do not want you to quit your job to where your children are starving. Because we're not dealing with the mark of the beast right now. This is not a mark of the beast situation. A mark of the beast situation is, you cannot buy or sell unless you have the mark. Now, like the Seventh-day Adventists, they like to say it's a Sunday mark. But that's the so-called fake Sabbath. Oh, you got to keep the Sunday. So they're going to bring about a Sunday law, where it's the same thing for many of you out there who think, well, if you don't keep this true Shabbat, you're in trouble. Before you came into this truth, let me ask y'all a question. And you only knew the Shabbat to be Friday evening to Saturday evening. Did you believe that you was doing the right thing? Give me a 1. Before you understood the true calendar and you thought Friday evening to Saturday evening was a Shabbat, did you think that you was doing the right thing? Give me a 1. And this is the thing that all of us must remember. I cannot beat on Yahuwah's sheep. I am not allowed to beat up his sheep by telling them and convicting them of what the commandment says about the Shabbat. We read about the Shabbat. All of you know what he says about his Shabbat. We found the calendar. It's been restored. All of you know what day now is the Shabbat. Some of you are able to line yourself up with the Shabbat. Some of you are trying to get yourself in a better position so that you can line up with the Shabbat. But I am not the one, nor has Abba Yahuwah put it on my heart to convict anyone of, well, the Shabbat is Monday. What you still doing working? That's between you and Abba Yahuwah. That's between you and Abba Yahuwah while you're still working there. I don't know your situation. He does. I don't know all what entails of your situation, but I know the one who does. None of us can point the finger at the next one and say, Jimmy, you are too soft on these people, and you're giving them an excuse that they can continue to work on the Shabbat. How dare I to tell anybody, no, it's okay, you can work on the Shabbat. That has never come out my mouth. That has never come out my mouth. Like my wife, I'll give you a prime example. Up until this year, because my wife's days off are Mondays and Tuesdays on the pagan calendar. Last year, her schedule would not allow her to have the Shabbat off. Now we're both working. We're a 2-income family, me and my wife, taking care of things, not only ourselves, but things that we have as obligations. Before we came into this truth, some of you, just like me, you have debts that you have to pay. We are to pay back our debts. That's bond. That's word. We are to be, if you owe someone anything, you're to pay it back. Now, again, I'm able, unlike my wife, I'm able to have my Shabbats off. I'm able to do the high days. Why? Because, again, I'm self-employed. This is before I came to know my wife. This is the job that I've had. Same thing with her. She has her job. That's her employment that she's had. And when she met me, and even at that time, I didn't know this calendar. I didn't know that this calendar was the way it is until 2017. I started looking into it. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. This is the calendar. I thought that the Sabbath was always fixed to a Saturday. I had no idea it was fixed to the sun, the SUN in the sky. So all these people who didn't know the true calendar, just like it says in the book of Jubilees that Yashara'al will go away from the truth. They will mess up all the days, making a high day a false day and a false day a high day. And yet Abba Yahuwah allowed us to find this truth now. He allowed us to find out his true purpose of his calendar and how we are to count it out. Why do you think many of us are having to go through the Great Tribulation? Because he's going to purge these things. He's going to allow us to make that walk out where we don't have to look at what our employer is doing. Why? Because at that point, it's time for the mark. The choices are going to be drawn. Even those of you, just like myself, who's been keeping the true Shabbat, we're going out into that same wilderness as they are, the ones who had to work to take care of their families. But when that day comes, they're going to stop working. They're going to take that first step out into the wilderness because Abba Yahuwah is going to give them the strength to do so with their family. Even if it means off with the head. We are not in that situation right now. We're not in that situation right now. And like I said, I know there's some of you who even have your union reps at your jobs trying to help you with your religious choice. That is your religious right. And you're trying to tell some of these corporations, hey, look, I need this day off for the rest of the year. They're like, okay, well, you're not going to get a hearing until December. Okay, well, it's only June now. December, it's gonna be turned to Tuesday pretty soon. What do I have to do? I have to go back and put in another grievance to say, look, I need this day off. Now it's Tuesdays, and I got to wait till the next December, and now that day is about to be done and expired, and now we got to go to the next week or the next day of that week. You see, we don't understand people's situation. So when they ask me certain questions and certain of you hear their responses to me, and you're like, oh, no, it shouldn't be like that. The Shabbat is the Shabbat. If you can't take the Shabbat off, you're breaking the Shabbat. Abba Yahuwah is going to judge the intent of their heart. That's why we're reading what I just read here. He is going to judge the intent of their heart. Not you, not me. He is the judge. He's the one that can make his servant stand. Not me, not you. What we need to do is be palaling for one another so that we all have our eyes open and that he continues to reveal himself and that he makes a way out of no way and that he will give those people who are stuck and they are enslaved to whatever system that they have been or found themselves in when they came into this truth, that Abba Yahuwah will open up another avenue for them to walk in that area so that they can walk according to his commandments, so that they will also be in right standings with him. Who's to say that they're not right now with what they're doing? Because he knows the intent. He knows what they want to do. He knows that they want to worship him. Like I said, I'm going to be taking some time off here soon. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I am going to take some time off. I need a break. I got people showing up to my backyard just unannounced. You know what I'm saying? This is stuff that I didn't sign up for. And yet I know this is part of the deal. I know this is part of what it means to be in the ministry. But I've been going for almost 3 years straight. Haven't missed a day of the weekends. Trying my best according to what Abba Yahuwah has instilled in me to share with others. And I'm only doing this because not only am I obligated to do so because he has saved me, but that I want others to know this truth because I want them to see this truth so that they too may be saved. But what I'm not going to do is beat on his sheep and say, you, if you don't keep this Shabbat, all of you who gave me a 1 and you say you couldn't do it, you're all in trouble. That's not for me to say. That's not for me to say. What is in your power, you better take care of that. You know what it means for the Arak Yom. You know what it means for the preparation day. Prepare your food. Get your gas when you need to get it. Whatever it is. And some of you, that your job is to continue because you're driving so much that you have to continue to get gas through the day. Some of you are driving a long ways, like our Cody Wendy. Picking up people from this stop and going, getting them from this stop and going because your husband has passed away. Now you're an actual widow. Who's going to take care of your bills if you don't work? Who's going to take care of for you so you're not homeless in a country that doesn't care about you? You're not getting no kind of pension. You don't have no what you call it, a retirement fund that's taking care of you once you say, you know what, I'm done. I'm turning in my papers. I'm ready to retire. Who's taking care of you when you don't have nothing like that as an umbrella or as a safety net? Is our creator that cruel? Come hell or high water, you better keep my Shabbat, no matter if that means you lose your job and your children and you and your dogs are all out in the street, cold and wet and miserable. Is that the creator we serve? I don't think so. And if I'm wrong, please give me a 7. If I'm wrong, please give me a 7. And when you do give me a 7, please show me through scripture why I'm wrong. We have a Messiah, an intercessor, an advocate who knows our weaknesses. He knows our situation better than we know ourselves. Aki Charlie, I hear you, Ak. You know, and I look forward to the day when I'm back here again on YouTube and on TikTok. But Abba Yahuwah knows I need a break. I need a break. I've been telling this to some of the Akis that I talk to. I need my sanity. I don't have shalom right now with some of the things that I get. And what I'm going to do when I come back is going to be a little different. The website will still be up. All the teachings that I've shared, the channel will still be up. All of that is still there. Some of you probably can go back and listen to some of this if you really want to know my understanding as you're learning your understanding. If you want to go back into the archives and look into it, you are more than welcome to do so. But me as a person, as a physical individual, one who has feelings, one who gets exhausted. Yeah, I need my sanity. I need my shalom. I need my shalom. I'm still dealing with a Cody Shannon right now. Many of you, please continue to pull off for a Cody Shannon. So want to let all of you know this. Please, time is short. Let us stop looking at each other. Let us work out our own salvation. Many of you who have come into this truth, the thing that we start losing once we start to know the truth is compassion. Compassion goes out the window when people start to know the truth. Why is that? Because with knowledge comes much responsibility. And with much responsibility, what happens is people start to take on that information and they start to separate themselves. They segregate themselves. These people are not doing what I'm doing. This is why I'm saying we need to look at ourselves and put yourself in someone else's shoe before you start saying what they're not doing or what they need to do. Compassion goes out the window as we start to know this truth. We start to go hard on people who say Jesus. I'm guilty. We go hard on people who are Christians. I'm guilty. We go hard on people because they don't know the true Shabbat day. I'm guilty. We go hard on people because they don't know how to pronounce the true name Yahuah. I'm guilty. Why do I bring all this up? Because through all of that being true, it's all true. But we got to have compassion. We need to be compassionate. As Abba Yahuah was compassionate with us when we didn't know the true Shabbat, when we didn't know that actual day, when we didn't understand that we have to keep his commandments, when we didn't know that we were supposed to keep his feast days, when we didn't know his true calendar, all of these things, when we didn't know his name. And yet he was being long-suffering with us. You know, today is usually a day about Christians. And for those of you who know me, you know I hate Christianity with a passion. Let me say that again. I hate Christianity with a passion. Not Christians. I don't hate Christians. I hate the doctrine of Christianity. Why? Because that's not what the Messiah gave us. He didn't give us Christianity. Rome gave us Christianity. Greece gave us Christianity. Americana gave us Christianity. But the Messiah, he didn't give us Christianity. He didn't give us Christianity. What he did was he renewed our marriage vow. That's what he did. He died for his bride to save her. That's what he did. So that we may be clean before Abba Yahuah as his people who didn't have a sufficient offering, a sufficient sacrifice that would be able to fully atone for all of our transgressions. Lambs, bulls, and goats, their blood was temporary. That whole sacrificial law, that whole ceremonial of the sacrificial laws was a temporary fix. It was a Band-Aid until the surgery had to happen. And that surgery was our Messiah. He was the lamb that was slain before the foundation of the world. Before the earth was even founded, before he even created himself into a body, he already knew what he was going to go through and what he was going to create and what was going to transpire from his creation. And yet he did it anyway. He could have said, nope, I'm not going that direction. I don't need to die for my people. No, I'm just going to create them, as it says in the book of Baruch, in a single day. I'm just going to bring the people out. Just birth these people to be perfect So I don't have to go through none of that. But why didn't he do that? Because he wanted us, his creation, to see his compassion. He wanted us to see his love. He wanted us to see his care. He wanted us to understand what it means to be truly loved. I say all this again because I love you all. I care for you all. And Abba Yahuwah knows when I get to the end of my string or my rope, I need to go into seclusion for a little bit. Because if I don't, I lose my sanity. I believe this is why it is very important, as they would say in these times, to take a sabbatical. The sabbatical is not from Yahuwah. The sabbatical is from me not hearing all the noise. Because as the longer I'm doing this, the noise is getting louder. Why? Because there's more people. And as there's more people, there are more people who have opinions. And where there's more opinions, you're going to have more people who are going to cause friction. And where there's more friction, you're going to have more people who are hating. And all that negativity, a person can only take so much before they break. Unless they break themselves away from that situation to where they can get their sanity again, get their wind again, get their breath again, and then enter back in. Because right now I'm beat up. This is why I always ask you all to pull off for me and to pull off for one another. There's a lot of things that we all can do, and it starts right outside of our doorstep. There's a lot of people within your vicinity who do not know this truth. And it is your responsibility and my responsibility that they know this information. I want you to think about something. Let's look at the life of Masha. Let's go to Exodus. When Masha left Egypt because he had slew a man, he went out into the wilderness. He didn't go out into the wilderness to find Yahuwah. He didn't even know Yahuwah. He was fleeing from what he did. He became a felon on the run because he unalived an Egyptian. So he took off. He had no idea what was about to occur in his life. He meets the creator of heaven and earth. And when he meets the creator of heaven and earth, what was the first thing that he did? What was the first thing that Abba Yahuwah did? He spoke to him to get his attention. He showed them this sign of this burning bush. That was his sign. What was your sign? What was my sign? What was that burning bush situation in your life that Abba Yahuwah got your attention to say, I need to get a closer look. What is this? Why is this bush not being consumed? What was that position in your life? What was your burning bush moment? And then when Abba Yahuwah told you, don't take another step, take off your sandals. For the ground that you're standing on is set apart. It's Kadash. And you removed your sandals. You removed your shoe apparel. your footwear, and you prostrated yourself as he began to pour himself to you. And as he poured himself into you, you humbled yourself. The first thing that he did was he wanted to know his name. When I go to your people, what do I say is your name? When I go out there to evangelize those around me, your people, and they ask me, well, what's his name? What do I tell them? What do I tell them? What shall I say to them? Exodus chapter 3, verse 13. And Yahuah Elohim said to Moshe, I am that I am. Hayah, Ashar, Hayah. And he said, thus you shall say to the children of Yasharal, Yah has sent me to you. I am has sent me to you. And Yahuah Elohim said further to Moshe, thus you are to say to the children of Yasharal, Yahuah, the mighty one of your fathers, the mighty one of Abraham, the mighty one of Yitzhak, the mighty one of Yaqub has sent me to you. This is my name forever. This is my remembrance to all generations. So the first thing that he does is he reveals the name to those who need to know him. This is the first thing you tell a person. Do you know the name of the Creator? And they'll say, yeah, Jesus, or Lord, or God. No. His name is Yahuah. It's the first thing you do. So what's the next thing that you do? Well, just like he did with Moshe, Moshe goes and he starts speaking to the people, including those that are captors over him. Because not only himself, but his people are in captivity. They are enslaved to a system. And so now you got to tell the people the system that they're in, what the system is, what it has done to you, how it has taught you Egyptology, how it has taught you the way of the Egyptians, how it has taught you to worship their deities. And you show them their lineage. The mighty one of your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Yaqub. This is your heritage. This is your bloodline. This is where you come from. And even if you're not DNA from Abraham, you can be grafted in. So it still applies. So then what happens? Then he gives them the instructions. Exodus chapter 20. These are the house rules. The first commandment, you shall have no other mighty ones. Second commandment, you shall not make for yourself any carved images or any idols. The third commandment, you shall not bring his name to nothing. Not saying God damn and Jesus Christ. That is not what he meant by the third commandment. The third commandment means that you are not to make his name into nothing, that you don't make his name and make it mute. That means that his name is to be spoken. That means his name is to be proclaimed. That means his name is to be shouted. It is to be praised. It is to be sung to. It must be revealed to our brothers and sisters, just like he told Moshe, and just like Moshe had the wherewithal to say, when I come to your people and they ask me who sent me, what do I say to them? What is your name? You tell them the name. You let them know why L-O-R-D is not the name. You let them know why G-O-D is not the name. And then you tell them about the 10 words, the 10 commandments. This is the marriage vow. This is what we are to be connected to. This is the agreement. This is the contract. And you don't think Yahuah knows when it comes to the fourth commandment to remember the Sabbath, to keep it set apart? That there'll be some people who are not able to. This is why he had to bring them out into the wilderness, because they couldn't do it while they were in Egypt working for the Pharaoh. Just like many of us right now, we're working for Pharaoh, symbolically speaking. We're building up his Egypt, symbolically speaking. So we need to work out our own salvation. And then after he does all of this, what does he do next? Well, the next thing he starts telling them is in Leviticus. He tells them about the dietary laws in chapter 11. You go into Leviticus chapter 11, you start telling the people, this is what you're not supposed to eat, and this is what you're supposed to eat. Oh, well, nobody ever told me that. In fact, Christianity told me I can eat whatever I want. We know this because this is the way of Rome. This is the way of the Egyptians. This is the way of the Babylonians. This is the way of the Americans. Eat what you want. Do as thy will. If it feels good, do it. Just do it. Nikeo, Nike. Just do it. This is all against the grain of Yahuah. And then after that, he tells us about what we're supposed to do in Leviticus chapter 23. Here are the 8 days. Starting off with the Sabbath, the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of First Fruits, the Feast of Shavuot, also known as Pentecost, the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and the Feast of Sukkot, also known as Tabernacles. You shared this with them. Once they got this package, now you can tell them about the Mashiach. Now you can take them to the New Testament. You start off right there in Matthew. Don't go to John. You go to Matthew. Don't do the way of the Christians. Oh, have them read the Gospel of John. That'll have you in a God spell because you have no foundation. You cannot build a building from the top down. It must be from the bottom up. The foundation must be laid. What is the foundation? The Tanakh, the Old Testament, as they call it. You must build the foundation first. Once the foundation is filled, by telling them the name, by teaching them who he is, by letting them know where their ancestry comes from, how they are connected to Yasharal. You give them the Levitical, the dietary laws. Then you tell them about the 10 words, the commandments, and you also let them know about the feast days. Once those are done, everything else, it'll start to populate itself as they read the word more and more. They'll start to see where certain things come into play. They'll see what these instructions mean and how these instructions are to be used in their life. Because as you all know, some of these laws, some of these Torah laws, they are not for you because you're a woman or because you're a man or because you're a child or because you don't have no animals or because you may not be a farmer. There are certain laws and rules and instructions that applies to certain people that don't apply to you. And then you bring in the Messiah and who he is in Matthew chapter 1. You reveal who he is, where he comes from. He's from everlasting. He came into this world. There'll be those who believe in the Trinitarian doctrine. That's okay. You still tell them what the word says. It's up to them if they want to struggle and they want to do verbal gymnastics about the Trinity 3-in-1 doctrine. That's on them before Yahuah. But you tell them the truth. He's one. He came down in the flesh. And his name has meaning. Let them know where the name Jesus comes from. Let them know that Jesus means hail to Zeus. It means praise to Zeus. Even if they don't want to hear it, at least you told them. You planted the seed so that they are without excuse on that day when they have to bow that knee down and every tongue shall confess. Not that Jesus Christ is Lord. No, because no one is going to be speaking Greek before the throne. They're going to say his Hebraic name, the name that has been given, the name that he has told us is above every name. We don't get to choose what that name is. He already chose it and he gave it to us. Either you apply it for your salvation or you do it to your own damnation. It's one or the other. It's not about what feels right to us, but what he says is right before him. And he's looking at your heart. This is why he says, many of you profess out of your mouth, but your heart is far from me. It's the heart condition that he's worried about. It's the heart condition that wants to do right. When I was in prison and I wanted to keep the Shabbat, according to my understanding at that time. But just like in this world, when you're in prison, you have a job. My job was cleaning and scrubbing toilets behind other convicts and other inmates. That was my job, 5 days a week. Well, my job landed on a Sabbath. I'm somebody else's, how could I put it? Property. I don't belong to myself. You gonna tell me because I couldn't keep the Sabbath as my creator told me, from my understanding at that time, I'm damned to the lake of fire because I couldn't free myself to be able to do it on the day that I know that I'm supposed to do it, but yet I have somebody that's over me who is my captor, who has put me in that position? What am I supposed to do? Buck the system, go to the shoe? That is, the shoe would be, I forget what they call it, solitude confinement. Solitary housing unit. That's what we called it, the SHU, SHU. Oh, sure, I'm gonna get the day off now. I'm gonna get every day off now. I'm sitting up in this room, a cell all by myself, in the hole, as we would say, the SHU. But you know what Abba Yahuah did? Even with my understanding at that time, he gave me favor, not only with the convicts, but also with the staff in prison. So much so that the day that I was released, the warden pulls me out right before I was getting ready to be released onto the streets. He wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with me. And I don't say this to be patting myself on the back. I'm showing you the power of our Creator. When you're doing what is pleasing him, he will make your enemies be at peace with you. This is his word. This is what he has told us. He's subscribed this to us, and he will do this for you. That warden came and he shook my hand. He put his hand out. Now, any of you who've ever been locked up, the last thing a warden does is shake a hand of a convict that he's over. But no, this man wanted to talk to me one-on-one, away from everybody, not even for the convicts to see, because that already in itself, it rubs convicts the wrong way when they see another convict talking to the warden. That's like sleeping with the enemy. But no, the warden came and he grabbed me right before I was getting ready to be released on the streets. And he says, I want to tell you, I've been watching you and the things you've been doing. I was part of a Scared Straight program for the youth that would come off of the streets who were troubled teens, and they would bring them to the prison. And I was one of the guys that would have to talk to them. And you know what I would talk to them about? The Messiah. And how they shouldn't live their life the way they're living, so they don't come here. You don't have to be a hard head like me to be here to get your life straight. No. Learn from our mistake. Look at all of us in here, all these guys. We thought we were tough. We thought we was, being a thug was something that was a beautiful card to have that you can pull out. Yeah, I'm a thug. Even those thugs wish that they could have freedom. Even those thugs wish that somebody doesn't tell them when they got to turn off their lights. Even a thug wants somebody to say, you know what, I want to have some companion, but I can't do that in here. And so that warden shook my hand. And he said it was an honor to have me there with him in his prison. I said, sir, everything that you see me do was because of what I believe in. He said, anytime you want to come back here and you want to talk to the inmates, just fill out the form and I'll let you in. Because of the way I carried myself. because of what Yahuah instilled in me when I was coming into the truth. I didn't know what I knew now back then. My eyes were just starting to open up. I didn't even call him Yahusha yet. At that time, I was calling him Yeshua. I was using the Aramaic name that all these other Christians have been doing. Oh, his name is Yeshua because of those 2-9ers and 3-9ers and the 48ers have been telling us, oh, that's how you say his name. It's Yeshua. That ain't his name. Those people don't even believe in him, and they give us and telling us that, oh yeah, the Messiah's name is Yeshua in the Hebrew. That's not even Hebrew, it's Aramaic. His name is Yahusha. You say, oh, again, this is the pridefulness, the ego side of those of us who speak English. Yeshua, Yahshua, all is the same. It sounds the same. Don't even want to look into the matter. Look into it. Hebrew has meaning. And when we make it just seem like it's anything and anything, this is why people say, oh, we can call him Jesus. No, we shouldn't call him Jesus. I know that's what has been printed in your King James Version. That doesn't make it right. This shows the fingerprint of Satan in these Bibles. He changed the name above all names because he knows there's power in the original name. That's why he don't want you to know the original name. He wants you to know the knockoff. And then is laughing at all of us while we're doing it. And so here it is, the Messiah. He's looked past all of our ignorances. And he's looking at the intent of your heart. He's looking at if you're truly, sincerely looking for him with all of your heart and with all of your mind, with all of your strength. That's when he starts to reveal to you those mysteries that was hidden, that was taken away from us by Satan. And some of us don't want to look into those matters because we think we're already there. We think we've already arrived. And so it's like, no, I don't need to know anything else but Jesus, Jesus and Jesus only. Well, look, I understand how much you love the name Jesus and the persona who's behind that name. But if you truly understand who your Father is and you say that you know him, then you're going to want to know his original name. The name that was given off of the lips of an angel to Joseph and Mary, not the words that came off the lips of Constantine. Constantine is not no angel. Constantine wasn't sent by Yahuah for us to know. And then you have all these people who are in Christian academia who want to tell us, well, God decided to give us the Greek language, and this is why we have all these Greek manuscripts, because this was the language that he chose for us to have the Bible written in. Can you show me where Yahuah said that, Christian? And can you show me the very first person who gave that philosophy to get you to believe that the Creator was going to speak to all these other people in Greek? And don't give me that stuff about what it says in Isaiah that he's going to speak to these people with a foreign language and a stammering lip. You see, no matter what language we speak, the truth is going to be evident. Even in this anglicized, English, bastardized language, Abba Yahuah can open up our eyes to salvation, even through the English language. But the name don't change. The name don't change. Because the power is in the name. If it was the true name that they gave us, it wouldn't say Jesus in our Bibles. It would say, I am his salvation. If you say you want to translate the name, what it means, because that's what his name means in Hebrew. I am his salvation. Yahusha. So you want to translate the name? Then translate it the way it's supposed to be. Everywhere you see Jesus, it should say, I am his salvation. I am his salvation said, I am his salvation is from Nazareth. But they got us so dumbed down that they got us over here just like parrots going around saying, Jesus, Jesus, and not even looking into the etymology of the word that we're calling our Savior. Why is that? I tell you why. Because we are creatures of habit. We do as others do. Monkey see, monkey do. Monkey say, monkey do. Or monkey speak. That's what we're doing. The same people who will argue with you up and down are the same people who've never looked into this information. And so when you try to tell them about the truth, they just cut it off. They just shut you out, especially your family. Your family look at you like you done lost it. They look at you like you don't know what you're talking about. I see why the Messiah says it's easier to talk to others who don't know this truth than those who claim to know the truth. You cannot pour new wine into old wineskin. The people who have come into this truth, the same one that Abba Yahuah has allowed me to speak to, are the same ones that have come back and say, you don't know what you're talking about. I've had that done so many times. And at the same time, I've had so many of those people come back and say, I'm sorry. Abba Yahuah has revealed to me exactly what you're talking about. I see it the same way now. I understand it. It was never about me being right or them being right or wrong and him being wrong or her being wrong. It's about Yahuwah's word being right. It's about the compassion of our Creator and him showing that compassion. It's just like many of you who are Christians who are hearing my voice right now. And you're coming into this truth. And you're saying, but wait a minute. Am I even saved? Are you saved? Have you been born again? Have you truly been born again? What does it mean to be born again? John chapter 3 says this. And there was a man of the Pharisees, Nicodemus. You may know him as Nicodemus. What's his name? A ruler of the Yahudim, of the Jews. This one came to Yahusha. That's our Messiah's name, Yahusha, by night, and said to him, Teacher, or that is to say, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher who come from Yahuah Elohim, the mighty of mighty ones. For no one is able to do these signs you do if Yahuah Elohim is not with him. Yahusha answered and said to him, Amat, truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born from above, he or she is unable to see the reign of Yahuah Elohim. Nicodemus said to him, how is a man able to be born when he is old? Is he able to enter into his mother's womb a second time and be born? And Yahusha answered, truly, truly, Amat, I say to you, unless one is born of water and the Ruach, the Spirit, he or she is unable to enter into the kingdom of Yahuah Elohim. That is born of the flesh is flesh, and that has been born of the Ruach is Ruach. Do not marvel that I say to you, you have to be born from above. Now, let's look at this. Verse 5, he says, truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born of water. What does it mean to be born of water? Well, if you're a Baptist, you think this means to be water baptized, but that's not what this means. He's talking about being born. The Messiah is talking about being born. Remember what he said here. I say to you, unless one is born from above, he is unable to see the reign of Yahuah Elohim. So what does it mean to be born from above? In Christian circles, this is where they say, oh, I'm a born again Christian. They use this passage to say this is what it means to be born again. So how is one born of water? That's when the water breaks in your mother's womb. Each one of us who have come into this world came through water from your mother's womb. That fluid that's inside that is to protect you in the womb of your mother's stomach, that's that water. So you were born once in the flesh. This is why he said here, that has been born of the flesh is flesh. That is the first time you was born. That's by water. And that has been born of the Ruach is Ruach. That's being born again the second time. That is what it means to be born again. Not water baptism. Water baptism does not allow you to be born again. That is the symbolic meaning of you before others and yourself before Abba Yahuah, that you have died to yourself and you have been resurrected in him as a new creation. It's a resurrection. But to be born twice, or to say born again, that's a spiritual manner. That has to do with you saying that you are no longer that person before. Now you are a virgin before Abba Yahuah. How do you become a virgin? Because you are now in that contract, that wedding contract, the marriage vows that was given to the children of Israel at Mount Sinai. You say, I will keep this to be faithful to you, my husband. And the husband says, because you are keeping this, I shall save you. I shall give you everlasting life. And not only an everlasting life, but I am going to build you a home, just like any husband would for his bride. I'm going to prepare a place for you. And if it was not so, I would tell you so. But I go to prepare a place for you. These are the 5 wise virgins, Matthew chapter 25. These are the virgins who are following and listening to their husband. Not listening to some other husband, not playing the harlot, sleeping with somebody else who is not supposed to be your head. You have one head. You have one head. Not your pastor, not your preacher. They are not your head. They are supposed to lead you and guide you to the bridegroom. They're supposed to lead you and guide you to the wedding feast. They're supposed to lead you and guide you so that you will be that perfect bride without any spot or wrinkle, like the Apostle Shaul was saying. I'm trying to present you as this bride to the Mashiach. So this is what it means to be born again. If you are not keeping his commandments, you are not in this wedding vow, wedding agreement situation. You are outside of the contract. You are outside of the agreement. You have no wedding certificate. The only certificate you have is a divorce certificate. He will push you away. And that's the scary thing about what is going on right now. There are a lot of people who think that they are walking with him. And if you are walking with him, then you're going to do what he says to do. It's that simple. This isn't complicated. We make it complicated. We make this complicated. If the Messiah says that he is the master of the Sabbath, he's the king of the Shabbat. He's the one who gave us the Sabbath day. He created the Sabbath day. We don't get to make the Sabbath day another day. If you know the Sabbath day, you're one step closer in being obedience and right standings with Abba Yahuah. But as we were saying earlier, there are some of you who have been trying to free yourself from the system to follow Yahuah as he is revealing himself to you about the Shabbat. And because our Shabbat, as he has given it to us, doesn't conveniently land on these weekends as the Roman Catholic Church has given it to us, does not mean that Abba Yahuah has turned himself away from you, because he knows the intent of your heart. He is going to judge you according to the intent of your heart. Let me put it this way. Just because, let's say because I know the Shabbat, but I'm not keeping the Shabbat the way I'm supposed to be keeping the Shabbat. And the person who wants to keep the Shabbat, but they can't keep the Shabbat because their job, their other situation is not allowing them to keep that Shabbat, but they're keeping it at the best way they can. Who do you think is standing right before Abba Yahuah? The one who knows the Shabbat and ain't keeping it the proper day? Ain't keeping it the proper way on the proper day? Even though they know the true Shabbat? Or the person who wants to keep it, but they can't keep it because they have job restrictions on them? Which one do you think is the one? Let me see it in the comments. So what I said was, Shoshana, like myself, I know the true Shabbat day, but I don't keep it the proper way. I'm keeping the Shabbat, but I'm keeping it my way. I'm saying my words, I'm doing my things. You know what it says in Isaiah chapter 58, that if we esteem the day of the Shabbat, Yahuwah's Shabbat, not speaking our own words, not doing the things that we want to do, right? That he would allow us to ride on the heights of the Shamayim if we uplift his day. But if I'm not doing that, and I know the Shabbat day, and I'm speaking my own words, I'm doing my own things, but the person who is not able to keep the Shabbat because they have job restrictions saying that they have to work, but they want to keep it, which one is the one that's in right standings with Yahuah? The one who wants to do it but can't do it? Or the one who knows the day and is not keeping it the way Abba Yahuah is telling them to keep it? Exactly, Karen. Exactly, Denise. This is why I say some of us, we have lost our compassion. We lost our compassion. You see, when you're dealing with the letter of the law, this is why Shaul says that the letter of the law is going to unalive you. There is no grounds for compassion in the letter of the law. It's just like when you go to a court and you break a law that you didn't have any idea of. They say, well, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Right? Well, with our Messiah, if you don't know the law, there is excuse. Where there is no law, there's no transgression. Where there's law, there's transgression. This is why he couldn't unalive Cain for unaliving his brother Abel, because there was no law given. He was ignorant of the law of murder. He did something that he wasn't supposed to do, and he knew it because he was trying to hide what he did. But yet Abba Yahuwah could not bring down the death penalty on him because there was no instruction given to Cain that he couldn't do what he did. Compassion, people, compassion. This is what the Mashiach came to do. This is why we need a savior. If you can save yourself by doing the law, then there's no need for the Mashiach. If you can do everything without the Mashiach, this is what Paul was talking about, where so many people get it so erroneously wrong about the letter to the Galatians. Shaul wasn't saying you can't keep it. You shouldn't keep the law. It was the compassion. You can't keep the law for salvation because all you have to do is break it once. And right then and there, the law says you are condemned to the lake of fire. Death penalty is upon you. That's why you are under the curse of not keeping the law. This is what Shaul meant when he says you are under the curse of the law. The curse is not the law. The curse is for not keeping the law. And so hence the death penalty. And so the Messiah came to give us compassion because he knows that we can't keep it to the letter of the law. You're gonna come short, and I'm gonna come short. We all fall short to the esteem of the Father. There is none righteous, no, not one. You all know this. And so how do we attain salvation? Attaining salvation is keeping the commandments while you're following the Messiah, because the Messiah's blood covers you of your mistakes. The blood of the Messiah covers you when you mess up. So we don't have to slaughter lambs, bulls, and goats anymore. He became that slaughter. He became the one who paid that propitiation that we couldn't cover, that we couldn't pay with our own very life. He did it on our behalf. That's the compassion. Do you show mercy? If you don't show no mercy on that day of judgment, you're not getting no mercy. He who shows mercy, mercy shall be given. This is the words of the Mashiach. You want to be rigid and not show compassion? Then Yahuwah is going to be the same with you. He's not going to show you no compassion because you were rigid with his sheep. Like I said, I've been doing this for quite some time. I am not wet behind the ears, but some of you, the way you share stuff with me, you share stuff with me as if you're going to teach me something. The only one who teaches me is Abba Yahuwah, just like it should be for you. The only one that should be teaching you is Abba Yahuwah. I just present the information. You need to go and check it for yourself. Again, I have people that agree and there's people that don't agree. You know, you don't agree, you don't agree. You deal with that before Abba Yahuwah. Again, pray for me if you think I'm wrong of what has been revealed. But don't Monday quarterback and tell me what I should have did on Sunday. It's easy to look after the fact and say, you should have did this, you should have said this, you should have done it this way. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. All I know is that we have a little bit of time left. We have a little bit of time left. Each one of us need to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. You run this race as if you're trying to win it. just like the Apostle Shaul says, so that you can receive that crown as the victor. It's the way you run this race. You do this to please Abba, not man. It's not to say, oh, look what I did, Jimmy. No, Daddy, look at me. I'm doing this for us. I'm doing this for you, Abba. I'm doing this because I love you, Abba. I love our kingdom. I love the family. That's why that should be our intent. Abba Yahuwah is going to make each one of us stand. You know, the Messiah says that salvation is of the Yahudim. This is what he told the woman at the well, right? Salvation is of the Yahudim. Right here. John chapter 4, verse 22. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, because the deliverance, that is the salvation, is of the Yahudim. Salvation is not of Christianity. Christianity is not salvation. Christianity is a club. It's a religion. Again, the Messiah didn't give us Christianity. Once you recognize this, you will be free from the matrix. Once you recognize this, you will understand who gave you Christianity, and it wasn't our Messiah. The one who gave us Christianity is Satan. Read Revelation chapter 17. If you understand who the woman, the harlot, is, then you'll understand who her daughters are. Once you understand who the harlot and the daughters are, then you'll understand that it was the fiery red beast, the red dragon with the 7 heads and the 10 crowns, or the 10 horns, was the one who gave the authority to the woman to lie and to deceive and to make drunk all the inhabitants of the earth, because of her authority and her power and her righteous living, as it says in the book of Revelation. Until you recognize that, you're going to keep doing your Christmases, you're going to keep doing your Easters, you're going to keep doing your birthdays, you're going to keep doing Mother's Days and Father's Days and Memorial Days and 4th of July's and Halloween and Thanksgiving. You're going to do all the pagan high days that they call holidays or holy days, because it has been given to you by the Catholic Church. The calendar that the world follows, who do commerce every single day, is under the Catholic Gregorian calendar. He who controls your mind controls your time. And if you're following their timepiece, if you're following their time reckoning, then they got your mind. And with that, they got you to celebrate, aka worship, what you didn't know that you were worshiping. All of you Christians who go to each other's homes or go to each other's houses on these holidays to eat Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving or New Year's Eve get-togethers or birthday parties or St. Patty's Days and Valentine's Days and all these get-togethers where you're eating, I want you to understand something. You're eating foods offered to idols. You may not understand it, but understand this very fact. You are celebrating It's a celebratory time to come and eat together. You're breaking bread together. And that day has been given to whatever wicked, evil spirit that gave it to man. You, my friend, just like all of us have been guilty of one time or another, we've ate food that was offered to idols, which means that we ate food that was in celebration of one of these high days. And these high days was not given to us by the Creator. It was given to us by these wicked, evil spirits. So go ahead and continue to do your Christian holidays. Oh yeah, there's a lot of it. Like I said, I named them off. You can start from New Year's Eve and work your way all the way back to New Year's Eve. Every last one of them, not one of them were you told by the Creator to keep or to celebrate, or is for the children as an excuse. Well, we do it for the children. We do it because all we're doing is eating and we're coming together with family. Did you not forget? Why are you doing it on that day? Why are you not doing it another day and not associating it with everything that has to do with that day? I tell you why. Because the whole world who are understanding Christianity and its Christendom doctrine is celebrating that day because Catholicism gave you that day to celebrate. And while you're celebrating it, the Jewish people are making a whole bunch of money and making fun of you while you're doing it because they know those are pagan days. And the Jewish people are the merchants of this world who are making money off of you, going to their Targets and their Walmarts and all these other places where they're selling all their goods. And they're getting rich off of your paganism. And you're saying it has to do with Jesus. Oh, it has everything to do with Jesus. That Jesus that you speak of, the one that you worship, that is a Greco-Roman invention. That is not Yahuah, the Hebrew Messiah. You're dealing with one that looks like a Roman, that's dressed like Caesar the Roman. Go and look at your Jesus character. Look at his robe that he has on, and then look up Caesar and what he would have on. It's one and the same. They've given you a Roman image of your Messiah, and then they gave you a Roman name that actually comes or derives from Iesus, from the Greek. Jesus, hail to Zeus. Look up the suffix S-U-S in the Greek. What does it represent? The S-U-S represents Zeus, just like in the word Pegasus, the flying horse of Zeus. Dionysus, the wine of Zeus. Ephesus, Tarsus, Moses, and yes, Jesus. All has to do with Zeus. But you'll say, oh no, it doesn't mean that. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Put in the suffix. What does the S-U-S in Greek mean as a suffix? It'll tell you. It has to do with Zeus. But your pastors and preachers and teachers, your leaders, they'll come back and tell you, oh no, that's not what it means. Now you have a choice to make. Either you believe that person that's saying that to you, or you believe what you're reading and you know that that's not his name. Because his name has meaning. Just like every Hebrew word has a meaning. Just like your pastors and preachers and teachers tell you, oh, the first 10 names of men in Genesis, it has a meaning. Okay. So if the first 10 men, their names have a meaning, you mean to tell me the name that is above all names doesn't have a meaning? And we're just going to change it to Jesus, which has no meaning in the sense of what it means to be for salvation, other than it means hail Zeus. And if you was to use the phonetic sound In Hebrew, it would mean earth pig, or is that in Latin rather? In Latin, earth pig? Why don't we take this information for what it is? Why do we say, oh no, it's attributed to our Messiah. His name is Jesus. So we just say it's Jesus. So many of you in your Christian circles have heard Jehovah Jireh and Jehovah Rapha and Jehovah Nisi. That's a Germanic term for the Creator's name, Jehovah. Jehovah is not his name. That is Germanicized. It's Germanic, which coincidentally, which is not a coincidence, the people who call themselves Jews and are not are also from Germanic origin. And they speak a form of so-called Hebrew that is called Yiddish, Yiddish. Look it up. It's not the original Hebrew. These same people who speak Yiddish and call themselves Jews and are not, the Ashkenazi Jews who are from the line of Japheth, they're the ones who gave you Yeshua. They're the ones who gave you Yahushua. They're the ones who gave you Yahweh. They're the ones who gave you Jehovah. The real pronunciation is not Jehovah Nisi, it's Yahuah Nisi. It's not Jehovah Jireh, it's Yahuah Yari. It's not Jehovah Rapha, it's Yahuah Rapha. But when a people don't understand and they're ignorant of the true Hebraic understanding, anyone can come off sounding like they're so scholastic and so informative, and they know what they're talking about. This is how they get you, with their smooth words of their philosophies. And even some of us who are in the truth, twisting stuff up like some other men that I know, like this guy named Chris Tuttle, who's all into legalese and has caused some of our brothers and sisters to fall away from the truth. So I also share this with you for those of you who want a quarterback from the sidelines. Be careful of what you're saying about others. Because Abba Yahuah has anointed certain people to do certain things. I can't do what you do, and you can't do what I do. We are all part of that member of the body. Again, Abba Yahuah is the one who's going to make his servant stand. And he can also allow us to fall if we go away from him. Seen too many things happen in this short amount of time in my life. And yes, I have a lot to still learn. And I thank Abba Yahuah for allowing me to have my eyes open to his truth. Any questions, comments, anything out there? Let me see what people have to say. Great to see you here, Aki Steve. Yes, it is silent, Cody Brook. I'm just reading comments to see what people have to say. or if there's any questions or corrections. I appreciate that, Cody Janet. To the top for those wonderful Yapa words, beautiful words. Cody Brook, I can share my testimony. Where should I begin? I can do that right now. Where would you like for me to start? Yes, Aki, humble, we are. There is countless videos on the true Shabbat. Please go to our link tree that was put together by our Cody Nazareth. Shalom, Makodi Hannah. And yes, Makodi Hava. Believe me, before I had to have you guys hear this, I had to hear this in my own Ruach myself. So, Tudata Aki Yakub, I hope all is well with you and your mishpachah. Yes, I will be coming on tomorrow. Tomorrow should be the last day of our Revelation series, where we're going to be going into the new heaven and new earth, along with New Yahushalom, New Jerusalem. I am after probably this Shabbat. And again, I don't know how long Abba Yahuah is going to have me do this, but I think I'll probably be coming back on right when we're doing the summer solstice, because I'm going to be charting out the summer solstice. I don't think it'd be too much of an interaction other than me just sharing it via YouTube. But honestly, Mishpachah, I need a break. And I ask Abba Yahuah to reset my energy that I feel, reset me for my, so I can just see clearly. I just want to be able to know what I'm doing is pleasing him in the right way. You get to doing something for so long, it just starts to become a mundane thing, and I don't want what I'm doing ever to become mundane. And I feel like that's where it's going right now. And I don't want it to be that way. I want it to be from my heart, a pure, sincere heart that I'm doing what I'm doing. let me say this. Again, this is nothing personal. Why I'm taking this sabbatical. Again, I understand the gravity of what Abba Yahuwah has allowed me to do in many people's lives, not just in my vicinity, but also all throughout the Arats, all throughout the earth, who have been touched by this ministry. And I didn't do this all by myself. You know, I got a Cody Nazareth and what she's done all these years with me. Aki Chris putting the website together. A Cody Jackie C for helping us put up the calendar, and not only to do the calendar, but also putting it so we can put it up on our website. And all my Akis, you know who you are, that help me with the feast days when we come together, picking people up, dropping them off, making sure that they had a place to stay. All my Akutis, those of you who have helped with the food and the preparations and all of that stuff. It goes without saying. Abba Yahuwah knows those who have helped with this ministry. This is not just me by myself. So I have to give credit where credit is due, and to those who've been helping, including my those who are the moderators. You know, it takes a lot to do what we're doing, day in and day out, going on 3 years. Okay, and we've grown a lot over those years, and again, all to the praise, to the name of our Abba Yahuwah for what He has done in our midst. And yeah, I just need a break to get my thoughts back together, and to reset. Really, that's what it is. It's to reset this calling that I feel that Abba Yahuwah has put on me for His people. The one thing I don't want is to become burnt out, or to be running on fumes, because that's where I feel like I'm heading. I'm going to be heading to where I feel like I'm just in fumes. As many of you know who's been following me for some years, you know, this is always, I used to say, you know, there's no place that I'd rather be than here. This is my happy place. This is where I'm happy. Lately, I haven't been so happy in this place, and I want that back again. I'm not happy in this place right now. I am not going to TikTok tonight. I just want to leave that as is. I'll come back to TikTok once I come back from the sabbatical. But I will be coming back on tomorrow for our Shabbat study on the book of Revelation, and to spend time with the Mishpachah until I sign off, until I feel that Abba Yahuwah is telling me to get back on. But during that time of silence, please, each and every one of you, you already know where your help comes from. You already know who is your guide. You already know who is your head. It is our Mashiach. He is our head. We're His body. Stefan, I don't know. I don't think it's a goodbye. It's just I just need some time to recuperate. Like I said, I don't know how long he's going to have me. It might be just a week. It might be 2 weeks. It might be a month. I don't know. I'm sure I'll be putting out posts here and there on this YouTube channel. But as far as doing lives on a weekly basis, I think what I'll probably be doing, especially on the Shabbats, is going to other people's rooms, listening to their chats, which is what I normally do when I'm working, and, you know, like Some of you have your own lives, and I'll come in and listen and sit and while sit in, but I'm working, kind of a deal. But yeah, I just need this sabbatical break for a little bit. And again, if I'm doing this for personal reasons, Abba, forgive me. I do need it in a personal sense of just recuperating. But it is not to be away from the Mishpachah. Again, that's why I'll most likely be coming to other people's lives. But as for me, having a live, putting in hours every weekend, I just need to take a break for a little bit. Just need to take a break. TURAH ta for that, Denise. TURAH ta, Cody. So, Aki Robin, all is well there in Australia. Ak. So as far as when I came into this truth, so to give and that's what I'm going to do for the rest of the time that I'm on here today, is my testimony. So I'll start from the beginning. So I was born in 1971 in South Korea, just outside of Seoul, South Korea. My dad, whom I never met, my physical dad, impregnated my mother when he was stationed from the United States to South Korea. My dad is what people would call here in this country African American. He is not African. Long story short, I traced my bloodline through my dad to the Bantu tribe from West Africa, which for those of you who know some history know that the Bantu tribe is the original Abri Hebrew people, the Jews who fled from Jerusalem during the time of the Roman incursion there to destroy the rest of our people because of the curse that was placed upon us by our own people when we had crucified the Messiah. And we said, let his blood be upon us and our children. So my dad, through our lineage, I can trace my bloodline back to Jamestown, Virginia, when my dad's people were brought here on those slave ships. Now, back to my life, born in 71 in Seoul, South Korea, another so-called African American. I guess my mom had a thing for melanated men, and my mom's full-blooded Korean. So she met who would future be my dad at what they call an NCO club, non-commissioned officers club, on the base there in South Korea. One thing led to another. She brings him home. He notices that my mother has a half-breed child at home, which was me. From the stories that I remember, my dad telling me and my mom telling me that he met me when I was 7 months old. And every time he would come over to the house at 9 months, he said I started walking. So I would start to do my baby walk towards him with my hands out, wanting him to pick me up when he would come through the door. And so one day my mom tells my soon-to-be stepdad, that she was getting ready to give me up for an adoption to a Korean couple. Well, my stepdad, who wasn't my stepdad yet, said, and this is again just from what I remember or recalling from him telling me about the story, that when your mom said that she was going to give you up for adoption, I told your mom that that Korea was no place for a half-breed kid to be raised as a second-class citizen in Korea. So he said to my mom, how about if I marry you? Would you still give up Jimmy for adoption? And of course she said no. So at that point, my stepdad, who wasn't my stepdad yet, put in the paperwork on the military base to marry my mom. So they ended up getting married just a little over after I turned a year. And so he had to fake the paperwork to make it look like I was actually his son. And even though I knew, or I didn't know at that time, but I'd find out later, and I'll get to that story here in a minute. But so he had to pretty much trick the military that I was his son. And so he was able to take me in, and he didn't adopt me because the way the paperwork looked on the military base, the Department of Defense paperwork, was that I was his biological son. So this was in 72. My half-brother from my mom and now my stepdad, they had a child, which would be my half-brother. He was born in 73. He was born. We were still in Korea. At this time, I was raised, because my mom was Buddhist at the time. That's all she knew was Buddhism. Well, here I am about 3 years old, 4 years old, somewhere around there. And I was still peeing in the bed. I mean, I'm a little child, but I was peeing in the bed. This is one of my first early memories of my life that I can recall. My mom, she was so upset with me because I kept peeing in the bed. Okay, and I peed in the bed until I was like 12 years old, okay? 12 years old, I was peeing in the bed. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of mattresses that I had gone through that my parents had to buy over those years of 12 years old, those 12 years. But back when we was in Korea, and again, I probably was around 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old, my mom takes me to a Buddhist temple. And they had this thing that they would use to sift the husk off of rice. And it would be like one of these I don't know what you would call it. It was kind of like a basket that would catch the rice as you sift it up into the air, and you would shake it, and then you would sift it up again in the air, and the husk would come off of it, you know. Well, my mom put one of those baskets upside down on my head. And I was in the middle of this courtyard at this Buddhist temple. And I still remember this to this day like it was yesterday. And again, I was around 4 or 5 years old. And all these women had like what I would consider broomsticks that was twined up, you know, from the straw, you know, these old looking, nothing like we have here in the States in these days. It looked like a whole bunch of straws put together and tied up. And that was like this, you know, looked like a broomstick. Well, they had me in the middle, and all these ladies were chanting, and they were, as I was turning around, they were like purposely turning me, and they was hitting me on the top of the back of the basket on top of my head, calling themselves scaring out this spirit out of me. This is what they were believing, you know, and they're hitting me, and I'm scared. And I remember hearing all the bells and all this chanting. And I mean, it literally frightened me. Okay. And, I remember telling that to my mom. I was like, Mom, do you remember when I was younger that you took me to the Buddhist temple, and you took me there because I wouldn't stop peeing in the bed, and you guys were whipping me on the back and throwing rice at me and all this stuff? And she goes, you remember that? I was like, yeah, Mom, I remember that stuff. That really messed me up. You know, it like put a shock into my brain. But anyways, so that was like one of my first memories. Then there was another memory that I had when I was growing up. My dad had a party. We were still in Korea. He had a party a squadron party, as they would call it. So like the Army, they would call their groups of soldiers, they would call them company, right? Or a battalion. Well, in the Air Force, their word for it was squadron or wing. And so my dad was in charge of those that were under him. It was part of a squadron. So he had a squadron party at the house that we lived at in Korea. And so I'm talking about all walks of life. I'm talking about whites, blacks, Asians, Hispanics, that's the way my dad was. And mind you, my stepdad, dark, very dark melanated man. In fact, his face reminds me of Richard Pryor, the comedian. That's what he looked like, Richard Pryor. In fact, let me show you a picture of my dad. So this was the man that raised me. Right here. I miss that old man. Died at the age of 49 years old. This is his mom. That's me kissing my grandma, his mom. It's when I had long hair back in the day. But that's his mom. That would be my grandma. Anyhow, this man, when I was younger, when he had this squadron party, and it's hard for me to explain this, but these Korean homes, they're not built like our American homes. They have a lot of paper doors like you see in these Kung Fu movies and stuff. They have a lot of paper doors back in those days, like rice paper doors or however they were made. But me and my younger brother, we used to poke holes in those doors. My dad used to get mad because they have to fix it. But anyhow, the back door going into the backyard was a whole bunch of windows. Okay, that like literally the whole back side of the house was like a window, but they were separated by the frame of the wood, and so you had these little panels of wood, panels of glass in them. When he had the squadron party and it was at night, we were dancing. I remember my dad would bring me and my brother out, and he would make us dance for his workers that worked with him on the base. My dad taught us this two-step kind of deal when we was little, and so we was kind of like the entertainment for his squadron party. Well, I happened to look out the back window and I saw what looked to me like a monster. I've never seen a face like that before. It was scary looking. It went up and then it went down from the window. And I yelled and screamed, and my dad, it was so loud that it was louder than the music. And I grabbed my dad by his pant leg, and he was wondering what happened. And I was, telling him, monster, by the window. So him and some guys, they went out and looked. Nothing's there. And then I remember having a dream. I don't know if it was that same night. It could have been months later. I don't know. I was a child. But every time I would close my eyes, I would see what looked like a skull. And it scared me. Now, I don't know if I seen it somewhere or what have you, but it was impressed in my brain to where every time I would close my eyes, I would see this skull-looking image. And of course, I didn't know how to explain that to my parents at the time. I was a young baby, around 4 or 5 years old, somewhere around there. And so finally my dad gets, let me back up. So when I was growing up, Mishpachah, I had a real bad case of asthma. And it would always seem to hit me at night, in the middle of the night. And I would literally be heaving like, like that, right? And it would be so loud that my dad, the one that I just showed you a picture of, he would take me to the military hospital on the base. And there wasn't much that they could do, at that time. This is in the early mid 70s. So what my dad would do every night that would happen, he would put me on his shoulders and we would walk the rice paddies, because where we lived in Korea, outside of our home, there was a lot of rice paddies, and he would just walk the rice paddies with me on his shoulders at night. And here he is, a tired man who had to wake up and go to the base and work. But because his stepson, who he took as his own son, was having breathing problems, he would walk me, through these rice paddies until that feeling would go away, until my brachia tube would expand so I can breathe normally. And so I was raised with this, problem. They said I would grow out of it, and I did as I got older. But so now we came to the States. So the first time was right after my brother was born, and we was stationed in San Bernardino, California. Then we went back to Korea, and my sister was born, and then we came back to the United States, and this time in Omaha, Nebraska. So Omaha, Nebraska, lived there. This is when my dad started telling my mom, no longer my sons and my daughter gonna be raised. They're not gonna be raised believing in Buddhism. They're gonna go to church. So this is the first time I'm being introduced to Christianity. And I remember getting on this purple and white bus that would come to our base housing there in Bellevue, Nebraska, right outside of Omaha, that would pick us up every Sunday like clockwork. And we went to this place. The denomination was Church of Christ. That's where I started my Christian journey. Now, mind you, my dad, he was raised a Christian in his mom and dad's home as a Baptist church. And while me and my brother and sister would get on this bus every Sunday, my dad would be kicking back his legs and he's watching NFL every Sunday. That was his church. Drinking his Johnny Walker Red on rocks, and that's what he would do every Sunday. That was his pastime. Kids are gone, pretty much like we were being taken care of by the church, that was like some kind of nursery, right? So I was introduced to Jesus at that time, 5 years old. This is in 1976. And from then on, most of my life, I was just going from one denomination to another denomination. And so we finally left Bellevue, Nebraska, and we moved out here to Las Vegas for the first time. And this was in 1981. Now I'm going to a Korean Baptist church, but the Korean Baptist church is a bilingual church. So the kids, parents that are having kids, they're being raised speaking English. So they had, English speaking Sunday schools for those of us. But my mom would go to where the adults would go to, where they're speaking in Korean over there at the so-called main sanctuary. And back then, I wasn't taking, like most of us, I'm not taking Christianity serious. I'm just, every time I get an opportunity, if I can hook from there, I'd leave. I'd get off the bus, and me and a couple of my buddies will leave away from the church, and we'll go out and walk in, and we'll be gone until it's time to catch the bus again to go back home. And then tell my parents, like, oh yeah, and they'd be like, well, what did you learn today in church? And I'll be lying, because I wasn't even in church. And so this went on for some years, and it wasn't until now we're stationed in Panama. We go overseas to the country of Panama. My dad was stationed at Howard Air Base, Panama Canal Zone, as they would call it, where the canal is over there, where the ships would pass from the Atlantic to the Pacific and the Pacific to the Atlantic. And I wasn't going to church as much then. It was just every once in a while. But one of our friends, I can't remember, I just remember his last name was Allhouse. Mark Allshouse, that's what his name was. Mark, him and his family would go to church. They went to this church called Maranatha Baptist Church. And at this Maranatha Baptist Church, they had a movie night. This is when they still had the reel-to-reel type of, the kind of, films, right? And they would have a projector and all of that stuff. Well, they were showing this movie called The Image of the Beast. And you can still look at this movie. It's on YouTube. Look up Image of the Beast. I think that's what it's called. It's an old, 80s movie. And so they had invited me and my brothers and, hey, you guys want to come and watch a movie at our church tonight? And I was like, oh, yeah, let me go ask my dad if it's okay. So my dad said yes. I go to this church and I'm sitting there and I'm watching this movie called Image of the Beast. Well, it was about Revelation. Now, mind you, it's from a Christian slant, but I'm going to tell you something. That movie scared the bejesus out of me, if you know what I mean. And at the end of the movie, they turn on the lights and the pastor gets up, the whole thing. Did that touch you tonight? Did it scare you? This doesn't have to happen to you. The rapture could happen at any moment. If you don't know Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior, raise your hand and come up here to the altar and we'll say this prayer. And so I did all of that. This is the first time that I purposely asked Jesus into my life, okay? And at this time, I was 12 years old. 12 years old, right? 6th grade. And I'm going to tell you, that day, or that night, I should say, was the first time, when you're, and all of you can, if you used to think back to your life, there's a moment when you know yourself, like you know you are you. You just not just this child, like you, like I'm alive. And I made that personal decision that night to want to know my Savior. All those other times that I went to church, I was just going to church. I had no idea. And again, this happened when I was 12 years old, when I made this decision. I had no idea about a life hereafter. I had no idea about a Savior. I had no idea about nothing when it comes to salvation. I remember having one of these little Gideon pocket New Testament books. It only had the New Testament. It was brown. I caught the bug. When I said this, that sinner's prayer, I caught the bug of Christianity. It was like that spell was put on me at that moment as a little child, in 6th grade. I remember right after that movie, some days later or whatever, when I was at school, here I am now, I think I was in 7th grade because I was in junior high at the time. And there was this guy named Ricky whose family just moved down from New York City. He's now in Panama. And him and I used to kick it all the time. We'd hang out and stuff. So it was right after lunch. I kind of go off into this corner by the track field and I'm reading my Gideon New Testament pocketbook Bible. I don't know what I was reading. I can't remember. But Ricky shows up and he's like, man, what are you doing? What are you reading? So this is my first time I'm witnessing to somebody. This is the very first person, I still remember it to this day. Like it was my first person that I've ever witnessed to was to Ricky, this brother that came down from Brooklyn, that's now living in Panama, same grade as I am. And I'm sharing with him the word, praying with him, that asked Jesus into his heart. I remember this. It's the first time. And it was something about that movie that made me want to tell everybody else about Jesus, about salvation, all of that. I wanted to preach his word. It started in 6th grade. Time goes on. That seed that was planted starts to dwindle. Start to have girlfriends, puberty kicks in, right? 7th, 8th grade, and puberty's kicking in. Last thing I'm thinking about is Jesus. Hanging out with my friends, doing the whole thing, thinking that if I don't lay with a girl that, I'm doing something slow. So I lost my virginity, I think that summer in 7th grade. I lost my virginity. Didn't know what I was doing. Thought I knew what I was doing. But I can brag and tell my buddies, yeah, man, we did it, all that stuff, right? Not even thinking. Years go by. Fast forward to 1990. We get back to the States. Not much going on with me religiously. Oh, let me back up. We come back to the States back in 80, what year was that? 87. Place for kids, right? During the summer. And this lady was like, hey, I'd like to introduce you to, invite you to our church. So I go to the church there, and it was a non-denominational church. And I remember there was a Caucasian lady that she played the flute and all this other stuff, but it was like I never denounced my belief in the Savior, right? So now let's go back to when I'm graduating, 1990. Now I'm in Philadelphia. My girlfriend's living with me. Both of us living out of wedlock, so we would say, but she's living with me, and she's gotten pregnant a few times. I had the money, so she gets an abortion like 3 times, Mishpachah. 3 times I paid to unalive a child before it was even born. Why? Because I was selfish. Why? Because I wasn't ready to be a dad. And didn't think anything of it. Me and that girl, we break up, move out here to Vegas, start going to school, into college, did 1 semester. I ended up meeting a guy who came out from LA who's connected with the Mexican mafia. He's living this fast life, got a nice car. I'm like, why should I go to college when this guy's got all this money and he's hooked up with all these people? He knew celebrities in LA, all that stuff. So I'm getting turned out. I'm literally getting turned out. I'm going from Vegas to Hollywood, meeting all kinds of people, celebrities, and never ever seen. I never did drugs up to this point, ever. Didn't smoke no weed, didn't do none of it. I didn't even smoke cigarettes, okay? I was a health freak. I didn't even drink alcohol. I wanted to go into the Air Force like my dad. I wanted to be an Air Force fighter pilot. That was my dream. I was the first in my class in ROTC and junior ROTC. All those years that I was in high school, I had the highest rank. And at that time, to go to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, you had to be Senate appointed from your local state. And there was only 2 that would go from each state every year. That's changed now. So every year you would only have 100 new cadets at the Air Force Academy. That's totally changed now. So I was in line from the state of Georgia as one of 2 candidates to go to the Air Force Academy. But me and my dad had a falling out because he got remarried to this Panamanian lady, and her and I didn't get along. So we ended up, me and my younger brother and my younger sister, we ended up moving to Philadelphia. And I had my girlfriend from Georgia move in with me when I went to Philadelphia because my mom, she had her own thing that she had going on. So she put us up in an apartment. So it was literally kids raising ourselves. I didn't even have to go to school anymore if I didn't want to. So I ended up getting a GED. And this is how my girlfriend was getting pregnant over and over again. I just kept getting them aborted 3 times. And I'm like, wow, it's probably the reason why. And in fact, I'll even say I know it's the reason why I don't have my own blood child to this day, because I was aborting them like they were nothing. It was meaningless. And the child that I wanted to keep, years later, that child became stillborn. And it was almost like Abba Yahuah was letting me know, you don't get to choose when you're going to become a dad. I choose. That's the way it was impressed in my heart. So to this very day, I don't have any children of my own. The only one that I say is my daughter It's not my daughter. It's actually my Shah's daughter from another previous marriage. And that's the only daughter that I have. That's the only child that I have, in that sense, that I'm the adopted, or I'm the stepdad to her daughter, who is now 21 years old. But anyhow, so here I am going back and forth from Vegas to LA, trafficking drugs all over the country. I get busted in 1996 in Memphis, Tennessee. And mind you, the whole time that I'm over here flying with cocaine, this is before 2001, before those towers went down and they weren't x-raying nobody's luggage and all that stuff like they're doing today. Back in those days, man, we was just packing up Samsonite luggages as much as we can with, kilos and kilos of cocaine. And so I got busted in Memphis with 6 kilos of cocaine. For those of you who don't know how much that's worth, at that time it was $120,000 worth of cocaine that I was carrying. Each one was $20,000 at the time. And it fluctuates during the time of the season. I don't follow that stuff anymore. I don't know how much a kilo goes for today. And the nickname that many of us called it, and some of you probably know it, we used to call it a bird, or an elbow. But anyhow, people have all kinds of nicknames for them. But yes, so that's what I was doing, making, $3,500 off of each kilo, and if you have 6 of them, you can do the math. I was making and I was doing this like twice a week, going from one city to the next city, flying in and out of LA to Memphis, and flying in and out, going to Minneapolis or Detroit or Seattle, or again, Memphis was another place that we went to a lot. And so I finally got busted in Memphis, and I was looking at 10 years. And again, this is before September 11th. I got busted in 1996. So when they let me out, because I was a youngster at that time, 25 years old, they said, here's your papers. You just have to come back for court next month. So they let me fly back to Vegas, and I would have to show up in Memphis for my federal court hearing. Well, when I got back to Vegas, the mafia that I worked for was like, you're not going back. We're going to give you a whole new identity. And so I left everything that I knew. My mom, my brother, my sister. I just literally just walked out the house with these people, because I know if I didn't, I was going to probably be 6 feet under. And I didn't know if they was going to put me 6 feet under at that time either. I don't know. Because all I was just a mule. I wasn't nobody big, I was their workhorse. And so sure enough, they give me a new passport. I, get all my vital statistics, everything. It's just like, I got a birth certificate, Social Security, new name, DMV, everything. It's legit. So here I am, whole new identity. So I took the money that I had and I started a limo service. I couldn't put it in my name. I put it in my uncle's name, but everybody in my family knew it belonged to me, but I just couldn't put my name on it or any of that. So I stopped serving drugs, and now here I am, got a limo service out here in Vegas, and I start the whole limousine SUV craze out here in Vegas back then with a 32-foot Expedition limousine that can carry 21 people. So I took all that money to do that. At this point, I'm like, you know what? Since I'm running from the feds with this new identity, I know I want to change. I need to be different. So I ended up going to this church called Victory Christian Center here in Vegas. And with my limousine, this is how I started. And Victory Christian Center at that time, it doesn't exist here now, but at that time it was a mega church. It was where all the big wigs of Hollywood church would go to. So this is where I got to meet Creflo Dollar for the first time, because I had this limousine. I would pick him up at the Executive Air Terminal here in Vegas, and his feet wouldn't even touch the tarmac. It would be rolled out, red carpet would be rolled out. He'll literally come off of his, I forget what G Gulfstream jet he had at the time. I think it was a G3 or something like that. Anyways, he would jump out of that, him and Taffy Dollar and I don't know if it was their actual son or stepson, but his name was Michael. And they would get in the back of my limousine. And I would take them to Caesar's Palace. That's where they would stay. And then when he had his speaking engagement, I would go pick him up at Caesar's Palace, and I would drive him over to the church that I used to go to. And at this time, I think it would have, I want to say like 1,500 people. And we had 2 services, so 3,000 people in 2 services. So I got to see what they were doing. And mind you, at this time, I've been at this church for going on 4 years. Okay, so I was part of the youth ministry, and I was one of the leaders underneath the youth pastor. Excuse me. And so this is where I was getting acquainted with Christian theology very well. And I was like soaking it in to the point that now here I am teaching the teenagers from the pulpit about what I thought was the truth at the time. And so this goes on, and it was just, I'll never forget this young boy. His mom came and got me one day, and she was like, and we're at the church, mind you. I'm over at this area that we call it the brick house. The brick house was where the youth ministry was. His mom comes to me, and she was like, and she was a nurse by trade. She's like, can you go after my son? He just took off running down the street. He said he didn't want to be here at church, and I think he's trying to go home, but can you go out there and get him? So I was like, yeah, let me go see where he's at. So I go out there, and he did. He walked down quite a ways down the street. So I'm running over there. I'm like, hey, hold up, and I get over there and I talk to him. I'm like, what's going on? Why are you leaving the church? He goes, they're all crooks in there. It's all about money. The stuff that we see, we understand. He saw this little kid, and I couldn't tell him. And mind you, he was in high school. I just can't remember what grade. I want to say 11th or 12th grade. And after he, poured his heart out and crying and snot coming down his nose and everything else, I'm like, look, I get it. You're right. Come on, let's walk back while we're talking. And so I told his mom, Susie, I was like, look, what your son said, I agree 100% with what he's saying, She goes, well, I thank you for going out there and getting him and all of that. But that night, what that boy told me, I agreed with him. It was like something just like triggered in me. It was like, I don't know how to put it other than I started questioning things, because I saw every time these, the Hollywoodisms of the church would come, and I pick them up in my limo, and I'm like listening to them while I'm driving, and they're back there in the back of the limo, and they're talking about where we're going to go eat and how much money they collected from the people. And it was sickening. And I remember me approaching the pastor, like something was in me, like I just wanted to say, I want to bring the word in the main sanctuary, Pastor. And he said, okay, well, what is it that you want to share? And you tell me, and I'll take it, to the Father in prayer. That's what the pastor said. I said, no, he wants you to hear it at the same time with everybody else. And he just looked at me and he said, why don't we pray? And that was his way of like literally disarming me. Why don't we pray? So we prayed, and I can't remember the words he said, but it was pretty much like him saying, no, I'm not going to let you speak in front of the congregation. And so at that point, your Ak decided to buy a bullhorn, and I was across the street. And soon as church would let out, I'm like, okay, you won't let me speak inside the congregation? I'm going to speak when they come out. And here he is. And I knew, because I knew like clockwork when church was over. I mean, it was clockwork every Sunday. I'm standing across the street. I'm not on their property. I got my bullhorn up, cranked up, volume high. And as soon as they coming out, I'm paraphrasing, but I remember saying, you are being led by a blind guide. And so the youth pastor, he sees me, because of course, who couldn't see me, because they hearing me blaring with this bullhorn. And I see the pastor looking at me, And as he's shaking everybody's hand as they're leaving, the church. So the youth pastor, he runs across the street. He's smiling and laughing. He's like, "Man, what are you doing over here, man? What is you doing?" So I tell him while I'm on the bullhorn, you guys are being led by a blind guide. You guys are being taught the wrong thing. And he goes, "All right, man, but this isn't how you do it. You come in and sit down." I said, "I tried that already. I talked to the pastor and he just ignored me, And so then all of a sudden, one of the brothers, okay, and I say, "Brothers, I'm letting you know his pigmentation. He's a usher. I would have to say he's probably like 6'3". I'm a 5'10" guy. I'm not that tall. 6'3", and I know this Ak. I don't know him that well, but I know that he's an usher. He had one of the green jackets on or whatever, and he's walking across the street like he gonna come and do something, like he gonna shut me up. And so he comes over there like he's actually trying to come at me. And so the youth pastor grabs him like, no, you can't. I said, "No, let him go. Let him go." I said, "Is this what they're teaching you in there in that church? You're gonna come and put hands on me?" And after that, he turned around and walked back across the street. Now, I say all that to say this, that was just one. And I would go to other churches. And this is when I started calling him Yeshua. And I started keeping what I understood to be the Sabbath from Friday evening to Saturday evening. These things started happening. And this was in 2002. This happened. Mind you, I'm still running from the feds. I've been running from the feds since 1996, and here it is, 2002. I've been going to other churches, saying the same thing, getting thrown out physically from the churches. And come 2003, December 2003, I get pulled over, and I didn't have my license on me, so they took me in, fingerprinted me. This is after September 11th, so they started merging all the databases, of fingerprints and all this other stuff. So when they fingerprinted me, it didn't trigger anything at the moment that they fingerprinted me. They let me go, but it was a hit later, and it showed up at the U.S. Marshal's office that a fugitive is still here in Vegas, and it was me. So long story short on this part, because I had to give information for them to release me, and I'm not thinking anything of my fingerprints coming back and they're going to find me. And again, this is after September 11th. So now with all the databases being connected, there's a hit on my fingerprints. I gave them all the information where I was going to be at. So the next thing I know, SWAT comes to the house that I'm staying at, and they have the whole house covered, got the bird in the sky, the helicopter, and all this is going on. They find me, handcuff me. They say, "Well, you had a great run for 8 years. Now we're going to take you back to Memphis." Now, during this whole time, I was preaching on the streets, okay? But I'm a fugitive. So they take me to Memphis. I get there, and I'm fighting my case for 2 years. Well, the prosecutor who was on my case originally 8 years ago is still the same prosecutor, and now he wants to throw the book at me. So instead of looking at 10 years, now I'm looking at 20. Abba Yahuah, at this point, he starts just showing me little things at a time. So the 2 years that I'm over here fighting my case in Memphis, and at this point, I have really long hair. I shave all my hair. I'm bald-headed. I come into the courtroom. The judge is looking at me like, what just happened? My hair has been so long for so long that it looks like I have a white cap on my head because no sun has hit the top of my scalp for decades. So you see a double complexion. My face is dark and my scalp is bright white, from not getting any sun in there. So I walk up into his courtroom after 2 years. It was when I'm getting sentenced that I walk in there bald-headed. So the judge is looking at me like, wow, like you look different. And so again, the prosecutor wants to give me 22 years. The judge asked me, do you have any words to say before I sentence you? I said, Your Honor, and I'm paraphrasing, but I did say something to this effect. Your Honor, whether for good or bad, right or wrong, the creator of heaven and earth has placed you on that bench. So whatever you say that comes out of your mouth, I'll accept it. So after I said that, the judge sat up in his bench and he looked at me over the rims of his glasses and he said, I wouldn't say that God put me on this bench for right or for wrong. And I interrupted him. I said, I know you might not think that, sir, but I do. He goes, I understand that, is what he said to me. And so then he says, I believe you're a changed man. And I believe we'll never see you in this courtroom ever again. He goes, I'm going to set aside the PSI report, the pre-sentencing investigation report that the prosecutor has given me. And when he said that, the prosecutor stood up so angry, but Your Honor. And so then the judge slams his mallet on the desk a couple of times. He said, this is my courtroom. You've had your say, counselor. And so then at that point, the prosecutor kept his mouth shut. He said, like I said, I'm not going to go with the recommendation of the pre-sentencing report of the government. However, I can't just let you walk out of here without giving you any time because you've changed your life. He says, what I'm going to do is give you what I gave your co-conspirators 10 years ago or 8.5 years ago. I gave them 120 months, which is a 10-year sentence. He goes, I'm giving you the same thing, 120 months. Now, mind you, I've already been fighting that case for 2 years at this point, so I'm already 24 months in on a 10-year sentence. So I only had theoretically 6.5 years left to do of my 10-year sentence with good conduct without getting in trouble. Because in the federal system, you have to do 85% of your time. So I had 6.5 years left of my 8.5-year sentence on a 10-year sentence that I had to do with good conduct. So as I'm being led out of there, the judge is looking at me the whole time when I'm walking away. The U.S. Marshal who had been bringing me into that courtroom for the last 2 years, he says, I know Judge Mays, and I've never seen him go that far down from a downward departure from what the prosecutor has said, like I seen today with your sentence. And I told that U.S. Marshal, I said, what you saw in there was the hand of God. And that's what I said to him. That's what I understood at that time. I said, what you saw in there was the hand of God. He says, it was something. He goes, because I've never seen him do that before. Later on, after I get sentenced, I get shipped out to California so that would be the closest to where I was staying from Vegas, right outside of Bakersfield. I'm at a place called Taft, FCI, which is a federal correction facility right outside of Bakersfield. And this is where I started preaching while I was locked up. But I'm preaching my understanding as a Christian. And I'm teaching convicts, and there would be people that would come in there that was correctional officers, and they'll sit down and they'll just listen. This was going on for 3 years there. And then I finally get a break, and I'm able to go to a camp where there is, there's no razor wire, there's no gun towers. It's just, you can walk away if you wanted to. So I had like 3 years left on my sentence, 3.5 years. And that's where this other brother came there, and I'm teaching over there what I understood as a Christian. But this other brother comes there, melanated brother from another prison. He just got a transfer. He says, hey, I hear that you're teaching Bible study. Can I attend? I was like, yeah, sure, man. Everyone's welcome. So I would do my spiel, do my, what I'm sharing. And at the end, question and comments. Anybody have any question or comments? So this brother says, he raises his hand. I was like, yeah, go ahead. Money, that was his nickname. We called him Money. He used to play for the NBA. And he says, are we supposed to keep the law, statutes, and commandments? And I told him, I was like, brother, those things have been done away with. It's all been nailed to the cross. I'm saying the same thing that I'm telling Christians today. No, that's not true. And here I am saying this to this brother. The same thing that Christians tell me to this day is the same thing that I was telling this brother who knew better. And so here I am cutting him down. Now, any of you who've ever been locked up, the last thing you do is down talk somebody in prison, because that could be an altercation. And so I told this brother when he asked me this question, I was like, man, what are you trying to do? Put us back into servitude? Man, the law's been done away with. You know, you're trying to take us back into the law. Man, that's legalism. You know, we're done with the law. All that's been nailed to the cross. Jesus did all that for us. We ain't got to do it. He just smiled and sat back down. Didn't say another word until the next day when he saw me. He catches up with me and he's like, hey, Brother Jim, I got something I wanted to share with you. So him and I kind of tucked off onto the side in this hallway. He goes, look, here's a book. He goes, don't let the CO see it. Don't let the correctional officer see it. What was the book? Fossilized Customs by Lou White. Now, there was no cover on it. He says, don't let the CO see this. He goes, you know, shove it in your shirt. So I shove it in my shirt. And he goes, when you get done, you know, give it back to me. I was like, all right. So I go to my cell. It's count time. I go and I'm sitting on my bunk. And this book is probably, it's a little bit thicker than Come Out of Her, My People by C.J. Coster. Some of you have that book. It's pretty much the same size. And so I start reading this book, Fossilized Customs. And it talks about all these customs that we have come to understand, you know, birthdays, holidays, you know, the name Jesus, Christmas tree, all this stuff. I had no idea, never even thought about it. It was just stuff that I knew. And, you know, I've heard people talk about Easter being, you know, pagan and all this stuff, but I never put the two and two together. Yeah, I read Jeremiah chapter 10, talking about how a man takes an axe and goes out there and cuts down a tree and brings it back home. And he's, you know, fashioning it with nails so it doesn't topple. And then he's decorating it with ornaments of silver and gold. You know, I've seen all of that, but it just didn't click. But then all of a sudden it clicked when I read this, and I was like, whoa, and I'm supposed to be keeping the Sabbath? Right then and there, I changed my tune instantly. I go back to and I shared this with another brother, I can't remember his name now. But anyways, I shared it with him, Joe. It was Joe. I shared it with Joe. I said, Joe, don't let nobody see this, man. Read this book and then get back with me, and then we'll talk about it. So he reads it, and then he comes to my cell, and he just gives me this big old smile. He's like, hey, brother, we need to go walk the yard. So we walk the yard. We get on the track. We start walking, and he's like, what do we do? I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I mean, we got to keep the Sabbath. We know his name is not Jesus. What do we do? I said, I'm going to be preaching the truth. I'm going to tell our brothers in the next Bible study that I'm not using the name Jesus Christ anymore. I'm not going to be using Lord anymore. I'm not going to be using God anymore. And we are not going to be doing all this celebration of Christmas and having choir practice for Christmas, the Christmas program. And all. I'm done with all of that. He was like, me too, brother. I was like, all right, so here I am. It's my study night. I'm supposed to teach everybody, share the word. And so I get up there and I'm telling everybody, look, I'm not going to say the name JC anymore. I'm going to say Yahusha. You know, he's the Messiah. I'm not going to say Lord anymore. His name is Yahuah. And so there's this one brother in the back, and Caucasian brother. I have to say Caucasian because it just gives you the mentality of this brother. He used to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He's at this camp with me. We call this camp Club Fed. So a lot of this club that I was at, or camp that I was at, was in mid part of Wisconsin, right outside of Madison. So like the governors that got busted in Illinois, this is where they would do their time. So I'm meeting rubbing shoulders with a lot of white collar crime individuals. And this guy, Nevin is his name, pretty tall guy, you know, older dude. But it's like you couldn't tell this dude nothing. Like he just, he was, to me, he felt like he was Chuck Swindoll in prison. Like he knew this word, right? And he knew Christian doctrine very well. But as far as the truth was concerned, he no. He can see out of it. He wanted to continue to use the name Jesus. After I got done, sharing what I was saying, he was like, raised his hand. I was like, yes, Nevin, what's your question? He goes, why aren't we saying Jesus anymore? What's up with not using the name Lord and God anymore? And I told him. And he goes, what? And he was like beside himself. He was so upset. So this guy goes and snitches on me, which is a no-no in prison. He snitches on me to the chaplain. I had no idea that the chaplain was getting ready to call my name over the loudspeaker. It was like, Spencer, to the chaplain's office. I'm like, what's going on? Okay. I'm just thinking it's just something that, he wanted to get with me about some program that's coming up or some volunteers coming up from Chicago or something. He wanted me to get the chaplain ready or the chapel ready for. So I go over there and I'm like, yes, chaplain. He goes, come in and sit down, close the door. I sit down, close the door. He goes, I'm hearing the craziest thing, that you are not calling yourself a Christian anymore. And you don't use the name Jesus and all this. I was like, yes. And so he goes, I know where you're getting this information from. I was like, oh, really? He goes, yes. It got back to me that you're reading this book that has been outlawed in the Bureau of Prisons for a reason because of stuff like this. I was like, what are you talking about, chaplain? He goes, I heard that you are getting this information from a book called Fossilized Customs. I said, oh, have you read it? He goes, oh, yeah, I've looked into it. He goes, I'm afraid for you. I said, why are you afraid for me? He goes, because you're in prison and you're doing time with Muslims that book speaks against. You're doing time with Catholics that book speaks against. And you're doing time with Christians that book speaks against. And I said, chaplain, he goes, well, I can't have you teach, Christianity or have Bible studies anymore because of what you believe in. I said, that's okay. I would like to have my own time. He says, I can't give you that. I was like, what do you mean you can't give me that? He goes, I've been told by Regent, Regent is an area that covers certain prisons in certain areas under the Bureau of Prisons for the feds. So they have different regions that has a regent office for those regions. Well, the region that I was in, the head of the chaplain's office in that region says that they can't give me my own time. Where here it is in the BOP Bureau of Prisons handbook about religions that are accepted, they have everything in there from Wiccans to satanic worship, but they won't give me and this other brother Joe our own slot in the chapel. And so I was like, we just want Friday evening to Saturday evening. Anywhere part of that Friday evening to Saturday evening, we'll take our time. He says, I can't do that per regent. I was like, really? He goes, yes. He goes, and your name has been put on a watch list with Homeland Security. I was like, what? He was like, yeah. I was like, okay. I said, you have anything else you need to tell me, chaplain? He says, nope. I said, all right, well, it's nice talking to you, sir. And I walked out. Do you know, after I think it was a month, both chaplains at that camp had got removed. They had got a transfer to another prison, and another chaplain came in there. I had no idea that they had got transferred. Now, me and this other brother, Joe, we were praying, that we wanted our own slot time. We started sharing with other convicts and other inmates, and we would have our own assembly out on the prison yard. We'd all take our scriptures out there and we'll sit over by the basketball court and, we'll be breaking the word down. Well, here's this new chaplain, had no idea that he's the new chaplain there, calls me in again over the loudspeaker. He's like, hi, I'm the new chaplain. I was like, oh, it's nice to meet you. He goes, I heard that you wanted your own time slot. I was like, yes. He goes, okay, what day do you want? I told him a day, Saturday. He gave us Saturday. I was like, wow, what? I'm praising Abba Yahuah. I'm like, wow, yes. And so that is how I got started in this truth back in 2009. It was from that point that he was teaching me more and more stuff. And here I am getting closer to my out date when I'm getting ready to leave the prison. So I get released in 2012, February of 2012, and I leave Wisconsin, get on a Greyhound, and I have to beeline it straight here to Vegas to a halfway house because this is where I'm getting released to. But I got to go to this federal halfway house first. So I get to the halfway house, and I'm fresh out of prison, all in my white tees, and everything is pressed and crisp and clean, and I'm like this person who just got out of prison. I'm like, oh man, and the bus is running late. So we were given instructions. If your bus is running late, make sure you call forward to, your halfway house to let them know that you're running late, because if you don't tell them and you get there when you're not supposed to, they're going to consider that as an escape. Even though you're on your way over there, the fact that you didn't get there at the time that you're supposed to check in, they consider that an escape. That could be added from 2 to 5 years added to your sentence. And I would have to go back, but this time not to the camp. Now I have to go behind a razor wire. So I'm on this Greyhound bus. We're like 3 hours outside of Vegas. We're in Utah. And mind you, I've been gone for 8.5 years. From 2003, I get out in 2012. So there was this guy that was behind me. He had a cell phone. I was like, man, can I use your cell phone? I need to make a phone call to this halfway house so I don't get in trouble. He was like, oh, yeah, man, here. So he gives me the phone, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, where's the buttons? I had no idea how to use this phone. So as I touch it, as you all know, the screen lights up. I'm like, whoa. I was like, excuse me, bro. Can you make the call for me? I said, I don't know how to use your phone. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I don't know how to get to the buttons and all that stuff. And he was like, man, what you been locked up in prison or something? I said, yeah, I literally just got out of prison just now. He's like, oh, bro, my bad, man. I didn't know. I was like, no, it's all right. I don't know how to use it. So I give him the numbers, and he makes the phone call. But I'm just letting you know I was like naive to technology because it had changed so much in the 8.5 years that I was gone. Like when I left, Nokias were still out, okay? And they had push buttons on there, like literal physical buttons. I get out this time and all I see is a screen. And I'm like, where's the buttons? So it was a shock to me. So now I'm here doing my time, and at a halfway house. I'm all about Yahuah. I literally get off the bus and I'm running with Yahuah. I'm trying to tell my family members, my friends, everybody, like, man, this is the truth. I go back and I'm telling some of the people that I knew from church that I knew before I got locked up. I'm hooking back up with them. They're like, man, where you been for all these years? And I'm sharing. As soon as I start telling them about the truth, they're like, smiling in my face, but I never heard from them again. They still went into their Christian circles. A couple of them, they were like, oh man, they're just like the rest of it. They're like, wow, this is amazing. So his name is Yahuah. It's not Jesus, Lord and God. And I was like, yeah. So I'm talking about Yahuah and Yahusha and all of that, and how he's not a Trinity, he's one. How we got to do the festival days, how we got to keep the Shabbat as I understood it, And so we started having fellowship every Friday evening. Me and a group of guys, we were doing this. And Mishpachah, it went on from 2012 to 2022. 2022 was when everything changed for me. As many of you know, I was looking at life in prison because I got busted. I had a whole bunch of weed in my house. I had it bagged up, but I was getting ready to throw it away. Okay. Now you might say, well, why would you have weed and Yahuah and all this stuff? Because at that time I was smoking and, studying and knowing Yahuah and all of this, but I still had this I couldn't give up the herbal, you know what I mean, at that time. And I just smoking and I would have my studies and that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing, just being honest with all of you. So the cops raided my house. All of this happened because of my stepdaughter, because she fell in love with this boy and this boy knew that I was, serving weed. I was doing that as a side thing to guys that I knew, and I was getting some cream of the crop stuff, and I would just sell it to certain people. Well, my stepdaughter wanted, stuff that I couldn't give her through this boy because she wanted him to spend the night. I'm like, that ain't happening in this house. Ain't no way. She goes, well, he can sleep downstairs and I'm upstairs. I'm like, do you think you peg me for a fool? You don't remember that I used to be your age? You don't think that while I'm asleep that you guys ain't going to try to hook up? I mean, you guys do that on your own time, but you ain't doing it underneath this roof. She didn't like that. She get upset. One thing leads to another. They get the cops involved. I mean, it was crazy. They stormed my house, with concussion. What do you call those things? Not concussion grenades, but it was like flash bombs. They had these flash grenades go off in my house, scare my dogs, all kinds of stuff, man. They're running through my house. They locked me up. And this would be my third strike as a felon. So I'm looking at life. I'm literally looking at life in prison. And when I'm getting arraigned by the judge, she's like, you're looking at life in prison. And I'm like, I never thought I would ever hear a judge talk about me looking at life. So it was at that point that I realized, I was like, you know what? I need to tighten up my walk. This is Yahuah trying to get me to understand. Now, mind you, COVID already happened. I still didn't wake up from COVID. That should have been if anything, alarms going off for me. Okay, but it didn't. I didn't even think about the 400-year curse on his people. I didn't think about none of that stuff. I'm over here, me and my wife, we're buying properties. We're living it up. We're doing the things like, all the Benjamins. We making it happen. We got second property. We buying land. We doing all this stuff. The last thing I was thinking about was Yahuah and Yahusha. So when this happened, and here I have an ankle monitor on my ankle, Abba Yahuah knows how to get our attention. And did he get my attention? During that time, I was like, you know what? Let me look at TikTok. Let's see what's going on over there. Because, I'm stuck at home. I got this ankle monitor on me. I gotta be at home. If I'm not working, I gotta be right back at home. But all of this Abba Yahuah used as an occasion to wake me up, Mishpachah. So I get on TikTok. I just put in Yahuah in the search bar. All of a sudden, all these things come up about Yahuah. I'm like, what? This is amazing. There's so many people here who know Yahuah and Yahusha. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like kind of seeing all this stuff kind of starting to populate on my feed. I'm like, oh, so they post. Okay, so then I start learning how to post stuff. So I start posting stuff. I'm reading, I'm getting into the word really hard. Abba Yahuah starts talking to me about the 400-year curse out of Genesis chapter 15, how it's tied into the 1619 with the slaves coming over on the transatlantic slave trade. 400 years later, be 2019. What happens in 2019? COVID-19 happens. And then I start having this, I can't even call it a dream, nor was it a vision. All I can say was, I just kept hearing this word corona over and over in my head. And so I woke up, and it was in the middle of the night. I have it written down somewhere when this happened. And I turned on the light on my nightstand and I grabbed my scriptures. I was like, okay, corona, the only place that I can think of corona would be the crown, which is, Revelation chapter 6, where it talks about in verses 1 and 2 about this rider on this horse, on this white horse, was given a crown and he had a bow in his hand. So I start breaking it all down. I'm like, okay, I know crown in the Latin is corona. That makes sense. And this is all in the middle of the night. It's like 3:34 in the morning. But I never looked up the word bow. And I've shared this with some of you about the word bow. And it comes from the Greek word toxin. When I found out the Greek word for bow was toxin, I'm like, wait a minute. Corona and toxin? This can't be by coincidence. So I started looking into this and I'm like, whoa, the first seal just broke. The first seal just broke. And here I am doing the stuff of the world. Mind you, that happened in 2020 with everything shutting down and all of this stuff. Here he is, 2022. I'm going through probably having to spend the rest of my life in prison. Hitting my knees every day, Mishpachah. Every single day. Palaling to Abba Yahuwah, me and my wife. Facing east. Abba, please take this away from me, but not my will. Your will be done. If you want me to get locked up, then I know I'm supposed to preach behind the walls like I did before. I need to speak this word behind the prison walls. If that's what you want from me for the rest of my life, I accept it, Abba. But I palal that you would take that away from me. Help me to do your will here on the outside. 2 years, almost to the day. I go to court, May 22nd. And that was last year, May 22nd. Yes, May 22nd last year. So literally this past May 22nd was a year ago. Okay, just last month. May 22nd last year. The prosecutor says, when the judge, because we were getting ready to start fighting. And when I'm saying fighting, I was going to fight for my life so I don't get locked up. All of a sudden, the prosecutor says, Your Honor, we drop all charges. I was like, am I hearing right? I'm looking at my attorney. He's looking at me. And so then my attorney goes, excuse me, Your Honor, just so that we're clear for the record, are we saying that my client is free? And the judge says, yes, counselor, your client is free to go. Man, I was like, I was about to scream hallelujah right there in the courtroom. I walked out into the hallway after I left the courtroom, and then I said, hallelujah, Yahuwah. When I say that Abba Yahuwah moved him, I was staring at life, Mishpachah. I give all praises and honor and esteem to Abba Yahuwah. It's from that is what has birthed this, ambassadors of Yah. This is how all of this came about. That's how all of this came about, because I didn't know he was going to do this. This is why I keep telling you guys, I had no idea that this is what was going to happen. I was a man who was in disobedience to the T. I had an understanding of the truth, and yet I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And when I say Abba Yahuwah, let me show you this in scripture. When I say Abba Yahuwah does everything for a reason, I'm telling you, Mishpachah, he does every single thing for a reason. Every single thing for a reason. Hold on, let me get myself composed real quick here. Because I'm going to tell you, Abba Yahuwah is no respecter of persons. We are all expendable. He doesn't need me. We need him. We need him. Let me find this passage. Oh, it's in Romans. I'm over here in Hebrews. Romans 11, verse 29. For the gifts and the calling of Yahuwah Elohim are not to be repented of. What is he saying here? The gifts that he's given you, the calling that he's placed upon your life shall not return back to him. It shall not come back to him. He's given it to you. He's given you the calling. He's given you those gifts. Now, what you do with that calling and what you do with that gift is up to you. I like to put it this way. When you have a calling on your life and Abba Yahuwah has given you that calling, you can't run from him. You can run from him all you want. That wall is a moving wall. You can't climb over it. You can't dig underneath it. And you can't get around it. It's just like Masha, aka Moses. But I have a speech impediment. I can't speak to Pharaoh. Oh no, Moses, you ain't getting out of this one. No. I've called you, Masha, and you are going to lead my people out. Every single person, when Yahuwah has put his hand on your life, Mishpachah, he's going to direct you. That's why some of you are seeing the things that are happening in your life and you don't understand. You're like, why is this bad thing happening to me? Why do I have to go through this? Why did this person do this to me? Or why did this person get taken from me? Why did this person have to die? Why did this? Why did this? Why did this? But when you sit back and you allow Abba to minister to your heart and to your spirit, he starts showing you why. He starts to explain himself to you through his word why you had to go through these things. This is why I share what I share with many of you. You see, I'm not just some boy who just decided one day, I'm going to get on YouTube and on TikTok and I'm just going to start sharing the truth. For a lot of people, that's probably what started it for them. They heard from somebody who's talking about Yahuwah and Yahusha, and now they want to start a live or they want to start doing some posts. That's not me. I'm no one special. I just told you my colorful background. I just told you what I just came through. I told you about my disobedience. I was a hard-headed knucklehead. He had to literally threaten me with life in prison to get me to say, okay, Abba, I'm hearing you. Okay, Abba, I see what you're saying. Okay, Abba, I'll do what you call me to do because you saved me. Now I'm obligated. I got to do this. And I do. I have to do this because he's given me this calling. He's given me this gift. And I'm not ignorant of the gift that he has given me. I'm not ignorant of the understanding of his word that he has given me. This is why I say, and I say it very clearly, let us not all become preachers and teachers. We're going to have to give a harsher answer because we're going to be judged more harsh than everyone else. This walk, what I'm doing, is not easy. And that's why I need a sabbatical. I need to take some time out to get my mind back right. And I'm doing it with Abba Yahuwah. Unlike before, I'm doing it with him and allowing him to lead me and guide me. Because without him, I can't do this. Just like yourself, I see the hand of Yahuwah in my life. I see where he has taken me. Just like when Satan tried to take me out with blood clots. That's right. I was looking at literally dying. I was literally dying. I have never, except for when I was born, I've never spent the night in a hospital. Never laid on a gurney in a hospital until a couple years ago when I started this ministry on TikTok, sitting 7, 8 hours without moving, just talking about the word, and blood clots were built up in my legs and somehow got lodged in my lungs, both lungs. So painful. Every time I would, cough or sneeze, it felt like my ribs were being broken. Never felt pain like that before. I knew something was wrong. And me being hard-headed, I was telling my wife, no, baby, it's going to go away. It's probably just, gas in my chest or something. I just got to burp it out. Our personal physician calls my wife on the phone and says, you need to get Jimmy to an ER right now. And they got to get him on an IV drip with this diuretic or whatever they call that stuff that thins out your blood. Blew me away. I was that close to being unalived, but I was ready. The way I was feeling at that point, I was ready to breathe my last breath. I even told them when they asked me, if we need to resuscitate you, are we allowed to resuscitate you? I said, no. They said, sign here. While I was laying on that gurney, I said, okay, signed it, releasing them from any stating that I didn't want to be resuscitated. Then they asked me another question. If we need to give you blood transfusion, will you allow us to do so? I said, no. They said, sign here. I signed it. And that was the end of that. I was ready. If Abba Yahuah was ready to take me, I was ready. And I was going to accept it because I knew at that point what I was sharing online, on TikTok and on YouTube, I was ready. Abba, if this is your will for me, not my will, your will be done. Take me. I'm ready. Of course, my wife didn't like hearing that. But I told my Aisha, I was like, baby, if this is the way Abba Yahuah wants me to go, then this is the way I'm supposed to go. You just be strong. You continue. You stay firm. There's a lot of things that I can look back at my life, just like many of you can look back at your life and you can see the hand of Yahuah in your life. And you know it was him. You know it was him. It was nobody else but him. Exactly, Cody Mavis. Exactly. And so that's pretty much the gist of my testimony and how he has used me for his namesake and how he has opened up my eyes to open up other people's eyes to this truth. This is why when some of you come at me with the stuff that you say, you're not talking to somebody who's wet behind the ears. I've been through some stuff. Abba Yahuah has taken me through some stuff. And a lot of the things that some of you are coming at me with, I already have been there, already have looked into some of these matters. Yahuah has allowed me to look into a lot of things because he needed me to be well-rounded for his namesake. Not somebody who's just getting started, who wants to lead people. That's not what I'm doing here. I know the gravity. I know the weight of what he has for me to do. And I'm not the only one. Many of you have been given the same responsibility. This is why I'm telling you, there are people out there that need to be saved. Why are you coming at me when you're still learning yourself? You listen to somebody else and now you want to push that on me as if I got to listen to this person because that sounds right to you. Some of you have brought stuff to me and I don't want to have to show you through the word to belittle you that your understanding of what that person has said to you was wrong. I don't say that because I know something better than someone else. No, the only revelation that is given to us is the revelation that has been given to us by Yahuah. No man can reveal something to you that he doesn't want you to see or to reveal. It's up to him if he's going to reveal it to you. This is why you hear me say this constantly over and over. There's Christians that come in and out of this room all day. And the same stuff that I share to you, they're listening to it. They're hearing it for themselves as well. But it doesn't strike a chord with them. Why? It's either for two reasons. It's either it's not yet their time to know this truth, or they're not his. It's one or the other. It's either not their time to hear it, or they do not belong to him. There's been so many things that I had left out. But I wanted to hit the main things because it's, 55 years, a lot of things happen in 55 years, and that's how old I am now. The older you get, the more you have to tell, more you have to share, these war stories that we went through. I'm not even telling you about the times that he saved me from getting unalived by the cartel because they're over here thinking I'm snitching on them. How I only walked away without a 22-year sentence and only walked away with a 10-year sentence. They're thinking that I turned state evidence on them. Then they read the report. They read the discovery. Oh, he didn't do none of that. But yeah, y'all were ready to kill me and put me 6 feet under somewhere out in the desert. But you see, Yahuah wouldn't let them do any of that. And I had no idea what he was going to do with me in the future. No idea. The people, the amazing people that I was going to meet as I'm meeting all of you today. Those of you that I got to meet personally, physically, coming together for these feast days, I would have it no other way. You guys are truly my eternal family, as I am yours. And we all belong to Abba Yahuah through his son, Yahusha. The only creator we will ever see, the only one that we know as the Father that we'll ever lay eyes upon is the Son. This is why I can be dogmatic about who he is. Because the scripture clearly, he has shown me through his own word that he truly is one being, manifesting himself in multiple ways. So no, when people want to talk about how, the Father is not the Son and the Son is not the Father, that's between them and Yah. Because Abba Yahuah has already revealed it to me. He's already revealed himself to me. I'm not talking about in a physical sense, but through his word. You will never hear me say, Yahuah spoke to me last night, and this is what he had put on my heart for me to tell you what he said to you. Because I'd be lying. But what I will tell you is, look at this, Mishpachah. This is what he's saying to us. Look what he says here. For the gifts and the calling of Aluah Elohim are not to be repented of. That's what his word says. That's what you hear me say. I'm not going to come to you, thus saith Yahuah. But some of you are coming at me like that. Yahuah told me this and Yahuah told me that, and you need to tell the Mishpachah this, and you need to tell them, you know what? If Yahuah wanted me to know that and to tell the Mishpachah that, don't you think he would tell me? I think he would. If he has allowed me to be a mouthpiece for his people in this last day and these last times, I truly believe that he would allow me to understand what he wants me to share with his people, because after all, he has given me this. I didn't give myself this. He has given me this platform. And so I'm going to do what's right before him, not before somebody because they don't agree with what I'm sharing. That's between you and Yahuah. Has nothing to do with me. Like I said before, if you think that I'm wrong, put my name on your lips and please share it with Abba Yahuah to straighten me out. If that is the case, because that right there is how you show me love. take it before Abba Yahuwah, because he's going to reveal it. If what you're saying is true, he's going to reveal it to me, and I can reveal it to others. Because that's how all of us are going to be taught, is by his Ruach. Not from the mouth of someone else, not from someone else's text, not from someone else's email. It's from his Ruach. It's from his spirit. So don't take it personal, because I still love each and every last one of you. But some ways that some of y'all are coming, I don't love the way you're coming at me. Put all that emotion and stuff to the side. Again, take that before Abba Yahuwah. If he wants me to know it, and you want to see the work of Yahuwah being done in the Mishpachah, take it to him. And if it is true what you're saying, he's going to reveal it to me, and you're going to see the works of what you just did by palaling for me before Abba Yahuwah. Now you're hearing it coming out of my mouth. That's how we work this. But don't be coming to me, flooding my emails or text messages and telling me what you feel Abba Yahuwah is putting on your heart. And then give me some other people's postings of what they're saying. And then I come to find out these people don't even believe what the truth is. Yes, they might have the name of Yahuwah and Yahusha on their lips, but their doctrine is different. Their understanding of the Shabbat is different. Their understanding of how to keep the feast days are different. And you're going to share this person's post with me? No. I'm not a 20-year-old youngster. I might look young. I might have some grays that kind of tell you that I might not be young. But no, a lot of those things that some of y'all are saying, that's not done out of what you think is love. That's done out of your own selfish understanding and motivation because of your understanding. But like I said, a lot of those things, what I've been doing and what I've been studying and what I have been taught and what I've experienced, a lot of those questions and some of those comments and some of these doctrinal issues that you're bringing at me, I've been there, done that already. I've already argued some of that stuff, and I've already found it to be a lie. I've already found it to be false. And some of that stuff, I found it to be true, and I line up. Case in point, when I was using the big old kudu horn, and some of you started flooding my emails and my text messages. Aki, I think we're using the wrong horn to be blowing. We're supposed to be using the ram's horn. Well, guess what? Abba Yahuwah started showing me the same thing. I'm like, yes, that Aki is correct, what he's posting. And so what did I do? I lined up with the truth. It's not about me. I don't have no ego in this. I have to line up with Abba Yahuwah when he reveals it. And so I stopped using the kudu horn and I start using the ram's horn. I'm using the true shofar. Same thing when I was wrong about the calendar. I thought that the first day of the year was the day after the spring equinox and not on the spring equinox. So I was a day off, and all you have to do is be off by a day and you're still wrong. Because the appointed time is the appointed time. Not because you was close to it, but I was off. And so everyone that hears me and what I'm teaching, they're going to be off. And so Abba Yahuwah used other people to say, no, you're supposed to come in on that day, on the spring equinox. I said, well, how are we going to figure this out? Abba Yahuwah put it in my mind and said, okay, from the summer solstice, count backwards. And you'll see what the first day of the year is. So from the summer solstice, counting backward is 91 days. What day do you land on? Spring equinox. There's your first day of the year, spring equinox. Wow, mind blown. Mind blown. So Abba Yahuwah confirmed it through his word for me. Yes, he used other people. Yes, those other people planted seeds. But it's Abba Yahuwah who does the revealing. He's the one who reveals. This is why I'm saying we've lost the compassion, that compassionate side. I'm guilty. People who come in and they say, Jesus, we need to be a little more softer with them and say, look, That's what we used to call him too. But now we know the true name. They want to keep on going off and no, Jesus is king and all. Let them do that. We're not going to stoop down to their level. Let them stay that way because they got that problem in their brain. They have that spell on them. They're not going to hear anything else. So we can't come at them the same way they're coming at us because that's not going to make it any better. Y'all know what it is. Positive and negative always comes out to be negative. So even though you over here talking positive stuff and they're coming with you with this negative stuff, it ain't going to work. Positive and positive is going to give you positive. And if that person isn't being positive, then you're not going to do anything to change their mind. The only one who can change that mind is going to be Abba Yahuwah. That's it. No one else can change a person's mind. Abba Yahuwah has to open up their heart, open up their mind of their understanding for them to see it. And it's the same way when you're coming at me. If you think that I'm wrong, let Brother Jimmy be wrong until Abba Yahuwah reveals it to him. Okay? You just take it before Abba Yahuwah and let Abba Yahuwah reveal it to Brother Jimmy. And then when Jimmy sees it, because Abba Yahuwah opened his eyes to it, then guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to share what has been revealed to me. I'm not trying to stay in error. I'm not trying to teach nobody in error. For one, I've seen Abba Yahuwah in these short, almost 3 years now, since doing this ministry, I have seen the hand of Abba Yahuwah, even before we're even asking one another about things. I'm going to give you a perfect example. It just happened yesterday. I'm going to leave out the names. I was speaking to someone. Well, they need to give that money back. They over here swindling my daughter. I said, ma'am, nobody is swindling your daughter. Your daughter gave this money to this person. But let me see if this person wants to give the money back. I didn't even get to ask this person if they wanted to give the money back. You know why? Because Abba Yahuwah already put it on that person's heart. As Yahuwah is my witness, they're hitting me up saying, Aki, I need such and such information so I can give this money back. I immediately called that person. I said, did anybody tell you about giving this money back? Like, did somebody call you or say anything? They're like, no, Abba Yahuwah impressed it on my heart. I was like, Aki, that was Abba Yahuwah, because the person was over here saying all this stuff about giving the money back. And I said, I'm going to check with the person. And the next thing I know, here you are texting me, talking about you wanted a way to give this money back. That's Abba Yahuwah all day. And that's just one of many things that I've seen since being in this ministry. He is definitely in our midst, Mishpachah. That's what I'm getting at. He's watching us. He's knowing everything that we're thinking. He's knowing the thoughts of everybody that's listening right now. Those of you who agree and those of you who disagree, he's seeing it. He's hearing it. He's making a mark and remembrance of all this stuff that we're doing. This is why it says, and the books were open, plural. And they were judged out of those books that was written of their works, plural. Oh, we serve a mighty, mighty Abba Yahuwah. So I want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank you for your ear. And I applaud for those of you who needed to hear what I was sharing, that you don't take it as criticism, but you take it in love. And take it before Abba Yahuwah. And he will reveal his will and his purpose and his plan for all of us to you. The compassion needs to be there, Mishpachah. Not this sternness, because on that day we're all going to want some mercy. So you need to be showing that mercy now with others who don't know this truth. Yes, Abba Yahuwah wants us to keep his Shabbat. Yes, he wants us to keep his feast days. He's showing us his calendar for a reason. And that calendar for a reason is so we know the prophetical count of what is coming. The days are numbered. This is why he gave us the days and it being numbered, so that we can follow along with him, so that this day does not come upon us as a thief. We will know it even at the very doors he promised us. And so this is what I'm sharing with those who have ears to hear and eyes to see. Like I said, I will not be going on TikTok. I want to thank you all for your time. I will be back tomorrow. One o'clock Pacific Standard Time, except 2 o'clock Mountain, except for Arizona, 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern. We'll be finishing up our Revelation series on the 8th sequence. We went through 7 of them. There's 8 of them altogether, and we would do the last one there. For those of you who emailed me and wanted an outline of the book of Revelation, I will send those to you. To those who asked, I will send that to you. But please, let us continue to pull off for one another. We are not enemies to each other by any means. We are Mishpachah. We are family. Let those who feel like they have something that they have to prove, let them continue doing what they're doing. But for us, let us edify one another. Let us build up each other. And let us continue to have compassion for those who don't know what we know. Those who say Jesus, God, and Lord, may we have compassion on them, because some of our people are still in that spell. And we're not going to get them if we're coming off hard on them. So all of you who make comments on this channel, you're held to the same standard as me, because you know this truth. And so we need you to please, all of us, showing love and compassion with others. Let's not make fun of them. Let's try to show more compassion. In doing so, Abba Yahuwah is going to be greatly pleased, because he continues to show us compassion, even when we don't know the truth altogether. Hallelujah, Yahuwah. Let us palal. Heavenly Father Yahuwah, Abba, you who have fashioned us in your image and after your likeness, you who is the maker of all of us, O Abba. Abba, you have all the power and all the authority. Abba, there is no one like you. You are Al Shaddai. You are the Almighty. Abba, please do not deal with us according to our ways, according to the leaven that's in our heart. We ask that you will remove this leaven that's in each one of our heart, the leaven of pride, the leaven of false doctrine, the leaven of ego, the leaven of what we think we know, O Abba. Remove those things from us so that we may be an unleavened bread. May we not be boastful and prideful, O Abba. Help us to be humble. Help us to be compassionate. Help us to be long-suffering with others, O Yah, as you have been long-suffering with us. Do not deal with us according to our ways, but deal with us according for your name's sake, O Abba. For your name is wonderful. You are our mighty counselor, our everlasting Father, our Prince of Shalom. We thank you for residing in our heart by your Ruach, by your Spirit, that we may be counted and reckoned for the day of redemption, for the day when you come to get us, O Abba, for none of us are worthy. We are all wicked. We are evil to the core. You say that there's none righteous, no, not one. And for this, O Abba, we give you praise, honor, and esteem that you would save us by the precious blood of your Bane, Yahushua HaMashiach. Abba, I palah for all of my Akis and Akodis, even those that I do not know. You know them, O Abba. Each one who calls upon your name and seek your face, those who have been named after you, those that don't even know that they are a part of you yet. I palah for all of them, O Abba. As we live in these last days, prepare us, your people, for the things that are about to happen upon the Sirats. If we are not worthy to be counted with one of the 144, O Abba, may we have the strength, the courage, and the endowment of you, our Creator, dwelling in us, O Abba, by your Ruach, to overcome all the snares of the wicked one. May he not have jurisdiction in our life, for we have been blood-bought by your Bane. We belong to you. We are your people, and you are our Alua Alahim. Forgive us, O Abba, where we have fallen short. Rumamu Abba Yahuah. We give you all praise, honor, and esteem. We palah this in the mighty name of your Ben Yahushua HaMashiach. Hallelujah, Yahuah. Hallelujah, Yahuah. And hallelujah, Yahuah. Amat. Rumamu Yahuah. I look forward to the day, Mishpachah, when we will all be together with our Abba Yahuah, when we will see him in the image of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, the Eternal One. My name is Ak Jimmy, also known as Brother Jimmy. May Abba Yahuah barak you and keep you. May he allow the countenance of his light to shine upon you and your Mishpachah for all of your days and all the days of your family, in Yahushua's mighty name. My name is Ak Jimmy, also known as Brother Jimmy. I think I just said that, but I'll say it again, and we are ambassadors of Yah. Hope to see you tomorrow, Mishpachah. Shalom, shalom.
Straight out of the book, the scriptures, verses sharper than fishing hooks, snagging souls, taking tolls, leaving devils shook. Who we be? Messengers, truth bringers, that's the key. Unlocking minds, leaving darkness in debris. We are the ambassadors, ambassadors, yeah. We are the ambassadors, ambassadors, yeah. Spreading love from near to far. We are the ambassadors, ambassadors, yeah. Listen close, hear us, yeah. Ambassadors, yeah, spreading love from near to far. We are the ambassadors, ambassadors, yeah. Listen close, hear us, yeah. Verses be thumping, shofars be blowing, beat be steady. Word power every hour, truth already. Planted deep secrets keep fools unsteady. We elevate till your fate be hands, open your eyes, see the light. Walk tall, stand strong. We are the ambassadors, ambassadors of Yah. Spreading love from near to far. We are the ambassadors, ambassadors of Yah. Listen close.